In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is blood politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is blood politics.
I hate wasting time. I don't like wasting time, so we might as well just dive right into it. What do you say? What's going on, guys? I appreciate you for joining me. Once again, my name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I know we're going to have some people filtering in as Hal is ending. Shout out to the Blunt Politics community. What do you say I bring you guys in for a second here? Say hi to you guys. I know you deserve some screen time, as I always say, because you guys make this happen. You know, if it wasn't for you guys, I'd be sitting here talking to my goddamn self. So what's going on, Ellen? How are you? What's up, Gamer? What is that, 9-inch toenail? Come on. Can't be throwing screen names at me like that right off the bat, for crying out loud. What's going on, Alyosha? How are you, Tamra? What's going on, moms? Appreciate you guys. What's up, DPD? What's up, Wes? I see you, Nance. I see you over there. Thank you, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Substack, the whole 9 yards. Great show for you tonight. Really, really excited to get to talk to another state rep candidate here, which is something that I'm, very happy that we get to utilize this platform to uplift, different candidates in all sorts of different races that, again, espouse the same, views, policies, and beliefs in which we want to see this society turn into. So very happy to be joined by Tom Hendrickson, again, running for a state rep position out in Western Mass. But in just a second, I'll bring him in. But I appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button, filter in one and all. A ton of clips in the second half to talk about as well. Obviously, we'll be talking about Trump and Ivanka in his, in her little Epstein island that she's trying to put together outside of Albania. We got the deep strikes inside of Russia by Ukraine. Rob Schmidt on Newsmax turns himself into an arsehole. LBC's James O'Brien rips into Donald Trump's health. I think he has Simon Marks on discussing Donald Trump's health as well, and a couple other clips because Donald Trump, unfortunately, did, in fact, show his face in front of cameras. I know there was a lot of speculation going out there, but, saddened to bring you the news. I understand. But before we waste any more time, what do you say we bring Tom right in before I get myself in some trouble here? Let's see if I can hit the right button, bring him right on in. Let's see. Is it this one? Is it this one? There it is. What's going on, my brother? I do appreciate you for taking the time out. Thank you so much. And how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And again, we were joking behind the scenes. This will be now the third, I believe, Massachusetts state rep or candidate in some form or fashion. And I've still yet to run into somebody with the same accent. So I'm still hoping, big swing and a miss here. But I do appreciate you for taking the time and coming to speak to, again, the little podcast that could. So before we hop right into it, why don't you see if you can let my chat know a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background, how you get into politics, just kind of get them a little bit more acquainted with you before we start getting into the campaign and the questions.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for having me on tonight. It's great to be here. I am Tom Hendrickson. I'm running for state representative in the 3rd Hampden District in Massachusetts. So it's Agawam, where I'm currently a city councilor, and it is 9 other towns that are all in one state rep district. So it's a big geographic district. A lot of small towns out in Western Mass. To give you a sense of where we are, if you've ever been to Six Flags New England, that's in Agawam. If you've ever been to the Eastern States Exposition, the Big E, that's kind of our area. It's right across the street from us. So we're out in Western Mass. Like I said, I'm a city councilor. I have been since 2022 when I joined the council. So I'm in my 3rd term on the city council and running for state representative against the incumbent Republican state rep, Nicholas Boldiga. and really just trying to fight for working class people out here. My parents are both public school teachers. My dad was the vice president of the Southwick Teachers Union for many years. And growing up, would hear stories about him in contract negotiations, advocating for, him and his coworkers in their contract. And, hearing these stories and wondering why, teachers, some of the most important people in society, some of the most important workers in our community, have to fight so hard just to get, a decent pay, decent living for themselves. And I think that is one of the many things that drove me to pursue politics, because, working class people, we need a seat at the table when it comes to, the policymaking process. So happy to be here tonight, and looking forward to answering some questions that you got and discussing my race.
Yeah, there was a bunch of obviously, good things that popped out to me on your website, which our mods will be tossing in periodically in the chat there. One is a website giving, an overview about him, his policy, and then another one, I believe, is for direct donations, if I have that one correct. But, a few things stood out to me right away. Obviously, son of two teachers, education being extremely important. We've seen the Republicans, to a large degree, prey upon the uneducated and the people that are unable to decipher lies from truth, and what kind of situation we've got in there. So that was something that popped out to me. Obviously, the fact that you said your dad was the vice president of the Southwick, presidency, the teachers union there, which is something that we'll get into, the importance of unions and trying to get back to bigger, stronger unions to represent the working class. You also talked about reducing prices, which is, pretty self-explanatory right now. I don't think there's too much, anybody that's going to fight you on that. Government transparency, another thing that is hugely important right now, considering what we're seeing with the federal government. I know we're talking on a state basis right now, but that stuff trickles down when, these bad actors in these different states start seeing the federal government act in a certain way and getting away with it. It just it filters down to these corrupt people that are hidden away, tucked away in these other positions. Quality of life. Being New England, I think it's a pretty widely a known area, probably widely known for working class, blue collar people. Obviously, we have the affluent areas as everybody does, but I think a lot of people would think of Boston, New England, this area as a working class area. So that was good because you talked about working class representation. So, how important is it that we get back to stronger unions? Of course, like I said, mentioning your dad's position, being son of two teachers and growing up in that environment, the degradation of unions that we've seen over the last several generations. Can you just kind of expound upon that a little bit and the importance of getting back to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously super important. I think about my own family, not just my parents, but my grandfather was a Teamsters delivery truck driver. And this was a man in the mid to late 20th century who had 6 kids, was a father of 6 kids, a one-income household as a delivery truck driver, wasn't college educated, working class guy, was able to sustain a living for 6 kids on a single income household. And it was all thanks to the fact that they had a very strong union that fought for good wages, good health care benefits. That type of thing nowadays is unimaginable, right? As we've seen the degradation of the unions and organized labor. I think about even beyond that, my great grandfather was a union carpenter. And it was funny. I was talking to my grandmother the other day, it was a while ago, but she was saying that, back in the day, they had to work 7 days a week, and then, they unionized and they started getting Sundays off, and they had a half day on Saturday. And it's like, yeah, that's how that stuff started, was people got together, they organized for, things like the 8-hour workday, for weekends, for all of the things that we take for granted now. And we're still seeing the labor movement growing. I was just yesterday on the picket lines in Springfield. There's a Springfield Square 1 is an early childhood care center where workers are on strike right now. I was talking to some of the workers. They're all making basically between $18 and $20 an hour. They're asking for raises over the next few years that would get them up to $24 an hour. We're talking about $24 an hour is not living large. They're asking for the basics of what they need to survive in today's economy. And they're being denied that by management right now. But if it wasn't for, the union, for the ability to collectively bargain and to come together as workers, they wouldn't be able to, have that collective power to advocate for themselves. So a big part of what I'm trying to do as a state rep is to, work and fight for legislation that improves people's ability to join a union and then to, collectively bargain for good wages, good benefits, and safe, fair working conditions.
And it's like, just like you said, that $24 an hour isn't going to make somebody live large, right? And I'm sure that it's going to still be a struggle, but the company will somehow try to make it look like that $24 an hour will put them under, or because it will take away so much of their profits because they have to go towards their, the shareholders and all of this. Like they can't find it in themselves to raise the amount that they pay the people, again, the people that make the goods, the people that make these companies happen, right? These CEOs, they wouldn't have the ability to buy 10 yachts, 14 helicopters, and 3 Swedish swimsuit models if it wasn't for the people on the factory floor making this happen every single day with their blood, sweat, and tears, right? And their ingenuity and their experience and expertise in whatever field and area that it's in. Like it's not breaking the company to do that, and I'm sure they could afford to do a lot more. They could afford, obviously this is a generalization. Not all companies are the same. They don't all make the same amount, but, to a large degree, the large corporations that we think of now that control a lot of the other smaller companies, if you actually, cut through the bullshit and look behind the curtain, it all kind of filters back to a lot of the same companies at the end of the day. But, how important and how do we kind of fight this class war that we're in right now? Are you hearing on the ground in your area the same thing we were kind of discussing before we came on? Like people are looking at what they're making, and it's if we were back in the 90s, they'd be living large, they'd be all set. But because we're in 2026, even though they're making a little bit more, or even in some cases a lot more than they ever have, it's not going as far, or it's not even enough to continue your daily life. So how do we fight it, and what's the best way to go about getting through this like difficult time that we're in, being stepped on by the billionaire class here?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's I would say one issue that's come up a lot, particularly in our community, has been the cost of the internet out here with Comcast. We have basically a monopoly of Comcast that is the only internet provider in Agawam, and we have been advocating for legislation at the State House that would significantly ease the permitting process for competitors to come in. So we had a company that was actually going to be coming into Agawam a few years ago. They had all the plans. They had begun work on the permitting process. And the way it works is that there's 13,000 telephone poles in Agawam. They had to apply for each individual pole to get access to run their internet wires on throughout the town. We ended up losing that project because it took them 3 years to go through that process, and they eventually gave up on it. There's a bill in the State House called One Touch Make Ready, which would basically make it so that they do one set of paperwork and it would cover you for the whole area. It's a bill that's been passed in every other state in New England. I think it's been passed in 20-something states throughout the country, and Massachusetts has still not passed it. And it's killing us. It's $300 a month out here for your internet cable package. And there's really no alternative. In this day and age, everybody needs something as basic as the internet to function. Really, nowadays, we've become so dependent on it. And it's another drain on people's paychecks. Like we said, I mean, the cost of everything is going up. That's just one of numerous examples. And it's another example where there is a solution in the State House, but the Comcasts of the world and the incumbent big companies, the telecom companies, against the big
I think they're attacking you right now, my friend. I don't think they like that
Probably.
they're speaking about you. You're cutting in and out a little bit, but
Oh.
it's kind of funny that we're talking about Comcast and the internet as all of a sudden your internet decides to go fuzzy on that. It's funny.
Oh
It's funny
boy.
how that happens. Like a lot of the times we're speaking about Russia as like, my computer just happens to freeze type of thing. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get our tinfoil hats on at some point in this conversation. But go ahead, continue. My apologies. You seem to be okay now.
No, that's funny. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of these things where, yeah, the big companies, they lobby against the legislation, and and it's not even necessarily Democrat versus Republican, because it's all Democrats out in the state house. They have a super majority for everything, and it's a matter of, do we have politicians that are here to fight for working people, or do we have politicians that are here to cash checks from big companies? And that's I'm here to fight for working people ultimately.
And another difficult aspect of that is fighting through like that vision, that thought that people have, where it's like you've heard time and time again, candidates go out there and promise you this, that, and the third. And next thing you know, they get in there and they're either wrapped up with the establishment, or they just completely forget about the promises, or they find out very quickly that it's not as easy or as easy as they thought it would be. There's a lot more roadblocks. Like I don't know if you've seen this. I guess this is probably a good question, but have you seen like any pushback from people that you thought would be on your side, on your team, but because they've been in the game longer and you seem like a young up and coming person in the game, that you've seen some like animosity or pushback or unwillingness to kind of let you into, I don't know, whatever it means, not events, but kind of difficult to crack into this to the base. You know what I mean?
I would say a few things. I mean, when I first got on the city council, I think I was 22 when I won my election. I was 23 when I took office.
That's
so
crazy.
I was very young, and everybody, I think I was the only candidate, the only person on the council that was under 50 years old, I think. So it was a lot of older folks, and then there's just
quite literally half everybody's age.
More than half for the most part. I mean, yeah, it was crazy. But no, I think I've been on the council for many years now, and I have a strong rapport with my colleagues. For the most part, most of them I get along with. And one thing I've learned is, because this is a conservative area out here that I represent, this is a district that voted for Donald Trump all 3 times. I would say on average, it's about a 56 to 44% Republican versus Democrat district. I've been able to have success here because, these issues that we talk about are sort of, I try and talk about issues that unite people. Like, nobody likes getting ripped off on their internet, regardless of what their political party is. Nobody likes paying $300 a month for Comcast, right? Nobody likes getting price gouged by EverSource Energy for their electricity bills. These are things that, when we talk about economic issues, it has bipartisan appeal. We ran a ballot question in this district, a non-binding referendum 2 years ago on Medicare for all. And on the very same ballot that voters voted for Donald Trump out here, they voted to support Medicare for all by, I think it was 52 to 48. So again, it's something where when we get past some of the culture war issues and stuff, when we talk about economic stuff of, the cost of healthcare, the cost of internet, the cost of electricity, cost of housing, when we talk about these cost of living economic issues, there's more appeal that we can build and consensus that we can build around these things.
I think it's a very smart take by you. Obviously, you have to live within the constituency that you have and you're going to represent, right? I mean, it's not going to do you any good to go out there and maybe be like me on this podcast, who's not worried about getting elected and saying and doing. I'm serious, like saying and talking about the things. Like, you have to be more precise. You have to be more calculated on the things. And I think it's obviously, we've heard for I don't know how long, it's the economy stupid, right? So nobody does like getting robbed. Nobody likes getting cheated. Nobody likes paying more for a resource than they know that it's worth, or that it was worth, 6 months ago, and all of a sudden now it's doubled in price. Like, I'm getting the same thing. Can somebody tell me how like that's happening? And like you said, cable now, and so many people finding out that streaming is what it's cracked up to be, and especially if you watch sports, I'll speak to myself, it's very difficult you need 47 different platforms, and by the time you look at what you're paying for all the streaming, so you're paying more than you were paying for cable. You know what I mean? Yep. Or in times it's relative. You know what I mean? It's like, so, all of these things added up together, and it's like, I completely understand, and I congratulate you and think it's a very smart move. I think it's not only smart, but necessary to kind of obviously listen to the constituency, obviously see what they voted for and against. And like you said, to see them vote for Medicare for all and also Donald Trump, like that was a consistent through line that we saw in, like, weren't there a bunch of Trump votes, but also voted for AOC and like
in New York City, a lot of them voted for Zoran, and
right. So we've seen that more and more. So speak to me a little bit more about that and how, obviously that's a fine line that you have to walk, but I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head with some of these issues that apply to everybody, right? It's not just partisan issues.
And I think, when it comes to like Trump voters and Republicans, there are some of them that are, whatever, hardcore MAGA Trump people. I think there are a lot of people, though, especially, around here that I talk to every day out here, who, heard the message that Trump ran on in 2024, which was, lowering the cost of living and ending all the wars and not going to war. And, people rightfully feel betrayed because we're now going to war and the cost of living is through the roof.
Right.
So I think that, like I said, there's some people that are just 100% MAGA Trump people, but there's a lot of people who, they don't pay a lot of attention to politics. They hear a few clips of him, talking about the cost of living or talking about ending the wars or whatever, and that appealed to them. But I think we have the potential to, win them back by, like I said, talking about people's material needs and finding the things that we have in common interests. Rather than
healthcare, finances, that type of stuff. I think everybody is generally not only worried about, but rightfully so. Obviously, seeing what we've seen, and the stripping of rights over different generations with different Supreme Court rulings and different state rulings and stuff. So, all right, let me throw this question at you though. So, just a hypothetical: you win, you're in. You got a blank slate. You'll have nobody telling you that you can't do this. You'll have no opposition to any of these pieces of legislation. What are the top 3 pieces of legislation, top 3 issues that you'd like to see implemented, or, again, hypothetically, if you had no challenges and it was a perfect world type of thing?
Perfect world. Issue number one for me is rural school aid out here. So there was a commission in 2022 that put out a report in Massachusetts highlighting the need for increased rural school aid. Rural schools, we have 3 school districts in my state rep district. 2 of them are considered rural districts. And the issues that we face out here are that these small little hill towns do not have the property tax base to sustain a school in the way that, over here in Agawam where I live, we have Six Flags that's paying property taxes. We have a whole industrial park that pays property taxes. Up in those hill towns, it's all these little residential homes, so they don't have the property tax base to sustain good, thriving public school systems out there. Plus, they've got additional costs around the transportation. They're covering a much larger area, so the bus routes are much longer, more fuel that you have to pay for, right? You got all
maintenance on the buses, right?
Right. All these issues around rural schools. And in the years since then, the recommendation was $60 million a year in the budget for rural school aid. Since then, we've got less than a quarter of that. I think one year it was 15 million, another year it was 10 million. It's been way less than what we need out here. There's a bill in the State House that would codify the $60 million in rural school aid. My opponent, our current state rep, is not a co-sponsor of that bill, which is insane to have 2 rural school districts and not to be a co-sponsor of the rural school aid bill. So that is issue number 1 for me, is getting proper funding out here for our school systems. We're desperately in need of it. Issue number 2, I would say Medicare for all is big for me. I see the cost of healthcare skyrocketing. It's tied into the issue of the school. I mean, the school budget's biggest item a lot of times is the health insurance for their teachers, right? As a municipal elected, I look at the town budget every year. We see a huge chunk of money paying for the health insurance for our town employees. So I see single payer healthcare, a system where healthcare becomes free at the point of service, paid for through a payroll tax, and it gets rid of your co-pays, deductibles, premiums. It's completely free at the point of service, and it's paid for through our taxes. It's what they do in Canada. If you look at the Canadian system, they pay a fraction per person of what we do in the United States, and Massachusetts particularly. And I love the idea of doing it as a state-by-state basis, because that's how they did it in Canada. They started at the provincial level, and they expanded out. Each province adopted their own system, and it continues to be administered at the provincial level in a lot of those. So that would be my second item. And then the third one, I referenced it earlier, but the one-touch make-ready around access to internet, I think is huge, trying to ease those regulations. It's a policy where it's cutting red tape, which is usually the conservative Republican talking point. But in this instance, it's a clear common sense thing where we've got to ease the permitting process around getting these allowing for more competition in the marketplace around internet, so that these big monopolies can't just price gouge everybody.
Awesome, I appreciate it. Now, are you seeing, as with your position on the council, are you seeing like a drop in the the number of kids attending schools in your area? Is it rising? Because something that we've seen, at least in my specific area, I'll speak about is, and I probably sound like an old fogey here to some degree, but when I was in high school and when I was in school, like, we were cutting kids from sports, right? We had too many people for the activities. You had to, there had to be some sort of process to weed people out. Since I left school, the school system, it has basically just dwindled in size, and we were never big to begin with, right? We were always on the smaller size in the higher districts in sports, and to the point where we've now seen like different towns combining to get a single team, like, to get a hockey team, you'll have to do half from this town, half from that town, pick a rink somewhere in the middle, try to get them to be a cohesive unit. So is that something that you're seeing in your district as well? I'm just kind of curious.
It's a huge issue out here. It's a huge issue. We have, declining enrollment's a big problem for us. What's interesting in the hill towns, they all used to have individual elementary schools that they basically all closed down and consolidated into the Gateway School District. So it's basically one school for the entire, I think they have 6 towns that all send their kids to one school district. I know in Granville, which is in the Southwick School District, they had an elementary school which basically got privatized. It got sold off to a Christian school that is now running a private school. So your options now are either to pay the fee to send your kid to the Granville school, or send them out to Southwick. So we're seeing declining enrollment, and the big effect that has is around Chapter 70 funding. So Chapter 70 is the state aid to the school district. The formula that determines how much funding you get through Chapter 70 is based on enrollment. So if your enrollment goes down, your state aid goes down through Chapter 70, and the costs do not go down, though. That's the issue. And the
unfortunately,
the weight of that gets shifted onto the taxpayers through property taxes, basically. So it's a major issue, and it requires reforming the Chapter 70 formula is ultimately.
I was just curious how widespread it was, because I know, we being on the coast here, just south of Boston, we kind of have a very specific aspect in people trying to purchase land because it's close in proximity to Boston, but also far enough away where you're not paying the high city prices. So it kind of gets thrown off and skewed a little bit. But like, are you seeing people, like, have you noticed like people moving out of not only the area but the state because of high costs as well? Is that something that you've seen and heard from people on the ground in your area?
I would say, especially I think about the hill towns out there. Kids, they graduate high school, they go off to college, and they don't come back. And part of it's high cost, but also in the hill towns is poor infrastructure up there. These are really rural areas. And people have a perception that when people think about Western
The
Mass,
first
rural
time you
Western
see, sorry to
Mass,
cut you off, but the first
yeah,
time you see like a big city with all the amenities after coming from a place like this, and I know we're not talking about,
yeah,
deep in the sticks, but, it's still coming from a place that's,
mm,
known as in the hills. It kind of
yeah,
gives a connotation. So, that first big city or, college experience, you're like, why the hell would I ever go back there? Sorry, it's just the thought
yeah,
was going through my mind. My apologies.
it is. It's a sentiment a lot of people have. And I live in Agawam, which we're a suburb. We're solidly a suburb out here. I've been traveling to the hill towns though, and it is out there. And people have a misconception about rural Western Mass because a lot of times they think of
Mhm.
the Berkshires, which is the far Western Mass, which
Right.
tends to be a little bit wealthier out there. It's a lot of people. You retire, you want to go out to the country, move out to the Berkshires. High education, a lot of wealthier people out there. My district is basically the area between the city of Springfield and the Berkshires. And so we're in a place where there's a lot of rural poverty out there.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's a place where we're seeing severe infrastructure issues. I was talking to a select board member in the town of Chester, where they've got a lot of their water systems are lead pipes. If it's not lead pipes, you've got a well. You don't even have a proper water system. We're seeing, and again, it goes back to these towns are so small, they don't have the property tax base to be able to fund these major infrastructure projects that need
Right.
to get done there. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of, people, like I said, like you said, you go off to college and you see the big city and you're like, why would I ever go back to that other place there? But I mean, that's why I'm running, is to try and revitalize these areas. One of the big issues I've been talking about, I'm hearing from people, when we talk about West-East Rail connecting our side of the state with Boston and even with Springfield, trying to get a train stop in Chester would be huge for the community. To try and get a place where people can hop on a train and they can take a train down to Springfield to go to work, or to go do whatever they need to do over there.
We just
Um,
had
you
that
know,
set up here in this area several years ago. The MBTA extended the commuter
mm,
line down to a bunch of these different areas, and now a lot of people that typically were sitting in traffic several hours a day now only have to drive about 3.5 minutes, park their car, get into a nice, comfortable train, take it all the way into the city, get it to where you need to from there is not that difficult. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
right,
high speed
because
rail in general is, you bringing that up is a very good point. Something that I've heard a lot of people a lot of people discuss, especially on the left, progressive, liberal type of people.
yeah, it's huge, and it's it's there because there's not a ton of jobs out in the hill towns. Believe it or not, there's not a huge amount of jobs out there. So the jobs are all out over in Springfield a lot of times. So
Mhm.
it gives people the incentive to, like, okay, I can stay living here and still transit and still commute in a way that's not driving 45 minutes through traffic. Instead, I can get on a nice train and it'll zip me over there. So it, like I said, it'd just be huge for revitalizing the area, because when you retain those residential, the people that want to stay living here, then it gives you the ability to have those local small businesses, your restaurants, your local places that can be sustained. But yeah, if people keep leaving to go find work, find jobs elsewhere, then these towns are going to dry up without the proper
Right.
support from the state in that sense. So
And it's just kind of like once it starts going in that direction, it's hard to stop that, because it's like that double-edged
yeah,
sword. Without the people, you can't have the funds and the taxes necessary to make it a better community. And without making it a better community, you're never going to attract the people to come in and give you the numbers that you need. So it's like this consistent cycle. And then, like you said,
mm,
once, and being from the same area for a long time growing up, I mean, you recognize, and again, you might sound old and like a folky saying, but it's like, things aren't what they used to be. Like, I remember, a vibrant Main Street or whatever it may be. And now
mm,
look at it. We're all, half the shops are shut down. They're boarded up. Nothing's there anymore. You have to go travel another 10 to 15 minutes to another town to get, groceries, when there was a grocery store before in this part of town. So, it's a huge advantage to be able to say, this is what it used to be, and this is why I think this effect has taken place, because I've seen it with my own eyes, type of thing. But let's
yeah,
touch on your opponent for a second, because you said something pretty interesting to me before we came on, which is The guy just doesn't show up to work, which should be a pretty clear, that's just like a nail already set in halfway in the wood, and it's just you coming in with that last whack to make it fully engaged in the wood type of thing. Can you speak a little bit about, your opponent, his obvious lack of work ethic, and when he does, if he shows up to work, what he espouses and what his, beliefs are and his policies that he's running on type of thing?
Yes. So Nick Boldiga is a member of several committees. The Revenue Committee, Joint Committee on Revenue. He's on the Agriculture and Fisheries Committee, and I think it's the Elder Affairs Committee that he's on. And those committees, since the beginning of 2025 combined, have had 19 committee hearings, and Nick has not attended any of them. So he has not shown up to a committee hearing as far back as the records that are published on the legislature's website.
He's the John Fetterman of your race.
He is a Fetterman-esque character where he at least doesn't wear the crappy sweatshirts. He does put on a suit at least. But no, he just, like I said, 19 committee hearings since the beginning of 2025. And that's just what the legislature has put on their website. Who knows when the last time he actually went to any of these hearings was. But, it's just immensely frustrating when Western Massachusetts, we're already outnumbered out there in the state house. We've got serious issues out here. And it gets even worse when our people don't even show up to work. So it's a huge issue around that. I mentioned it earlier, but we've got, the main piece of legislation, the Rural School Aid Bill, which would probably do more for this district than probably any other piece of legislation in the state house, and he's not a co-sponsor of it, is outrageous. What's interesting is he got called out for not co-sponsoring the bill, and so when budget season came around, he filed an amendment to put the $60 million in the budget, which, first of all, is not adequate because when you do a budget amendment, it's only for that 1 year. It's not permanent. So next year we'd have to have the same fight all over again. Second of all, nobody voted for it. I mean, there were 160 members in the House, and I think he got 15 votes on it. There were people who have rural school districts in their district who are co-sponsors of the Rural School Aid Bill, didn't even vote for his amendment, basically because he showed up there, and they were all like, who is this guy? It's ridiculous. Like I said, we've got serious issues in this community, in this district, serious quality of life stuff that we desperately need a state representative to go to Boston and advocate for our community. And this guy is just straight up not showing up to work for a while. And it's a product of, he was unopposed when he ran 2 years ago. He wins re-election handily every year. And so I think he looks at it as, this is a Republican district. I don't have to do any work. I don't have to try. I'll just coast through and keep winning re-election. And that's just not acceptable. And I think that people are becoming increasingly aware of it. And it's getting coverage in the press. And we're running a serious campaign to go out and talk to people, connect with people, and I think we have a good shot at getting them out this year. But
and it just gives people that are supposed to be in place doing work for the people that got them into that place, like, it just gives them a bad name. It's a bad look to not show up for the people, especially at an important time like this. You know what I mean? It's like, is there not enough issues? Are the people not facing enough economic hardship? Is there not enough problems within our healthcare systems? Are there not enough cracks and potholes in the roads? Are there not enough bridges that need to be fixed? Are there not enough schools that need to be revamped and reworked? And all those, all of those things seem to be the problems are so numerous that you should be, I don't know, it'd be difficult to figure out a reason why you wouldn't just show up to a meeting in today's day and age. But
it's his job. It's his job. He gets paid a six-figure salary to go and do this. In my work, admittedly, there are meetings that I do not want to go to. There are tasks that I don't particularly enjoy doing, but it's my job. I get paid to do this. You get paid to do this. It's an $80,000 base salary and then another $30,000 travel stipend. But he doesn't travel. He's not going out to Boston to do anything. It's just outrageous. And his explanation for not going to the committee hearings is that I don't even know. It's that the committees are corrupt. There's corruption going on. This is a corrupt process. House leadership is the whole committee system. And okay, well, if you're so high and mighty and you're so ethical and you're above all of this corruption, isn't that all the more reason for you to go to these hearings and these meetings? Like, if there's corruption going on, okay, Nick, you should be the watchdog for it then. You should be the guy who's there calling it out, And it just, because it's not a serious excuse. I think he's just lazy and doesn't want to.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's so corrupt, I'm going to sit home and twiddle my thumbs and just let it happen excuse is the right route for, change in that aspect. But, you talked about, making money and you're in the manufacturing business as well. Can you just talk to me a little bit about the tariffs that have been kind of willy-nilly put in place, taken on, put on, taken off? Like, have you seen an impact in your job and your business that you work in? And, just a little bit about kind of the instability that I guess has been thrust into the majorly the manufacturing business, but, a lot of different industries because of these tariffs.
Yeah, it's been a huge issue for us. So for context, my day job, I work for the Paperboard Packaging Council. We're a trade association of box.
So I wasn't sure if you wanted to get, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to give it away. So I was trying to go around the edges.
For the viewers,
All right.
I work for a manufacturing trade association, and the tariffs have been a huge thing for us, obviously. And I would say the biggest issue for the manufacturing industry is not so much the tariffs themselves, but the unpredictability of it. If we knew what we were getting for tariffs or whatever, we could build a long-term strategy around how we're going to manage this and how we're going to handle everything. But it's the fact that it changes every few weeks, basically, where, in the beginning, there were different rates for different things. And then, recently, a couple months ago, the Supreme Court struck down the IEEPA tariffs. And so now those are all getting refunded, but they're putting on new tariffs now. So like I said, it's the unpredictability of, we jokingly call it the tariff of the day program, because it just seems like every day there's a new headline with new stuff coming out. And the whole idea behind tariffs is to basically artificially raise the price of foreign produced goods to encourage the use of or the purchase of domestically produced stuff. So it's supposed to help domestic manufacturers. And it really has not done that for us in our industry, broadly speaking. Because you think about it, a factory, if we've got a piece of machinery that we buy from a different country, now you're slapping a huge tariff on that. That raises our costs for that piece of machinery. If you're a board converter, you may buy the paper or the fiber from Scandinavia and import it, and then take that fiber and turn it into a box. Well, now that fiber that you're buying has a tariff put on it. So it just, like I said, the idea in theory is to help domestic manufacturers, and I'm yet to see the benefits of that in my industry for the time being. But
well, it's like, I think we all can agree that specific targeted tariffs obviously have a place in government, obviously have a use, obviously have a benefit. I mean, you look at the cheese and dairy industry between the United States up in near Wisconsin in Canada. Like, it's a pretty clear, it's pretty clear to see that, if Canada were to just allow the United States to bring as much of their dairy product into Canada as possible, it would do severe damage to the Canadian dairy product, like, the dairy, business. And it's pretty clear to see that these very specific targeted tariffs are okay. And it's these blanket, like, let's do it for the whole world. Let's make it this random percentage based on absolutely no calculations and math and based upon no history of our trading whatsoever. It was just that whole aspect. And we've seen that carry on in a lot of what Trump has been doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of seems like the tariffs kind of seems like exactly what he's doing with Iran. You know what I mean? If they're on, they're off. We're mad at them. We're happy. It's okay. Everything's bad. No, everything's shit right now. And now it's the same thing. Don't worry. We're going to either blow them up or we're going to have a deal signed. Deal's coming in 2 seconds, or we're going to, again, go bomb the shit out of them. And it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head 100%, because like you said, there's ways to do tariffs that are very effective. But like you said, you want to identify a specific industry where you think that, you currently have a competitive disadvantage, but with the right tools and the right investment, you could build up that industry domestically and protect your domestic producers. The other aspect of it is, what do you do with the tariff revenue? Ideally, you use that revenue to invest in developing the domestic industry of, the education, the skill and workforce development, all of the things that you need. That none of that is happening, right? They that's all stuff that got cut under Doge probably. None of that is what's happening. Yeah, there's been no predictability. It's blanket across the board with no regard for, specific industries. There's no investment coming back to us. It's just raising our costs and not really giving us much for benefit there for the most part.
Now, do you think there's enough instability? Because I've gone back and forth with this. I kind of feel like we're in this like strange mid territory of being very far down a path of fascism and authoritarianism to a point where it's kind of getting at a point, in my opinion, where it's going to be difficult to get back to any sense of normalcy. But we're also at a position where it's not bad enough for people to, I don't know, I say take drastic action, whatever that means, but to, to finally speak up and stand up and be like, okay, enough is enough. There's the red line. We've been stepped on enough. The billionaires have taken advantage of enough. We've been lied to by this government enough. We've seen the rich get their tax breaks while, we sit here and we foot the bill. We've seen our health care be stripped from us, like all of the different things that we've seen now, the foreign wars, the promised cut in energy prices. Meanwhile, everything's going up and up and up. The amount that you're making at work is going up at a tiny percentage in comparison to what inflation is going up and the cost of goods is going up. So it's like I feel like we're in this like, half the people are pissed off, half the people are like, I don't know, because I'm still going to work and I'm still taking my kids to daycare and I'm still going to vacation every now and again. So it's like, is it that bad? Like it's bad, but is it that bad? But I don't know. Do you think that like it's bad enough right now that you're hearing from your constituents that, you're going to see somewhat of a boost just being the opposition to the party that's in charge right now type of thing? The anger out there, the animosity towards, the party in charge, and hopefully, the policies that you represent are obviously better off for the people of your constituency. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I'm hearing a lot of that. And I would say, when it comes to this stuff, it's a lot easier to tear stuff down and destroy stuff than it is to build it back up, right? It's very easy to tear down a house versus trying to build a house. Two different tasks. And I think about it in my own life. My partner, my girlfriend, works for the Social Security Administration. So she's a government employee, and the Doge cuts have just devastated Social Security in terms of, maybe not so much the benefits that are getting paid out, but the customer service aspect of it. If you have an issue with it, they've got less staff to be able to deal with the issues that people have. They've laid off and, bought out so many talented people that have years of institutional knowledge and experience in handling these things. So the drain on the amount of talent that we've lost through these cuts it's hard to quantify, and it's hard to even conceptualize, because we are going to be, the damage that has been done by this administration, we are going to be feeling for years in terms of just, trying to rebuild what's been destroyed. Like I said, I hear about it every day. My girlfriend comes home from work and I hear about, how things are just not what they used to be. They would get emails from when the Doge people were doing their stuff. We're encouraging government employees to leave their low productivity government jobs and move to more higher productivity private sector jobs, just like insulting people to their face for the crime of being a government employee. It's awful. We're in trouble. But that's why I got into politics, though. I was in high school when Donald Trump was coming to, ascendance. I saw the way things were going, and I've seen the way that things are, and it, as frustrating as it's been, for me, it's what drives me to do this type of work, is that, there's all of these, frankly, bad people that are doing a lot of bad stuff in government. And we need to elect good people who are here to fight for working class people and to try and build a better government. So
I think for at least the third election cycle in a row, we have more political ammunition against our political opponents, whether it be, local, statewide, federally, than we've ever had. Like if like there's just a smorgasbord of things for you to pick apart, whether it's gas prices, the impossibility of owning a house at a young age at this point in time. Pick your poison as far as that's concerned. But it's like, if we don't, and I said this last, like, it's like, if we don't come out on top of this one, like, we're gonna have to do some fucking self-introspection, because we just had so much to go on, whether it was, the general election and all of the egregious things that Trump's done, or again, just the Republicans and the policy that they've tried to put in place on the state level throughout the country, and in different, districts in different states all over the country. So it's like, there's a ton for us to pick apart, and I think you've done a good job at hammering away at what your constituency, based on their past voting record, will resonate with them. And I think it's a good path to be on, and hopefully you see some benefit and some uplifting again from the anger and the frustration from the citizenry that I think is pretty nationwide right now. We've seen, probably not to a percentage that we'd like to see, but there are a lot of people, either conservative, Republican, whatever they call themselves, speaking out about, kind of how ridiculous it was for him to promise all of the promises and then to deliver the things that he's delivering right now as far as the White House is concerned. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, hopefully, we can get the ball rolling, keep that momentum on our side. What's next for you? Do you have canvassing coming up? Do you have events coming up that you have to do? What's next for you on your campaign trail?
Yeah, we have a couple of meet and greets coming up in the hill towns, and we've got canvasses as well. I've been on the doors since I announced I was running back in February, I think. And the reception on the doors has been very good. We've got, we're going to be doing those on Saturdays. We just brought in a new intern, so he's going to be doing our volunteer recruitment, and we're going to get some people out to canvass and hit the doors and talk to people one-on-one. That's the most important way that we can flip people, is just those one-on-one, face-to-face conversations is the best way to do it. So we'll certainly be out
adding
there.
People to your staff is a good sign. You know what I mean? Hopefully,
yes.
if you need to expand the staff, that's typically a sign that you're reaching more people or more broader bases. Hopefully, so that's a good signal.
Yes.
Where can people? I know there was the donate site that we've been putting in the chat. What else can people do to help your campaign? Can people get involved? People, obviously, if there's anybody from the same area, Massachusetts, that can get down, and I'm sure, are you accepting people that make phone calls, do text, knock on doors type of thing, or is that still kind of something you're setting up?
All of the above. Yeah. If you go to my website,
Good.
tomhendrickson.org, you can sign up there to be on our list, and we will be in touch with you shortly. So go to tomhendrickson.org, sign up. And if you're not able, if you're from too far away and you can't help out, you can always make a contribution as well. That always helps. So,
absolutely. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much. We wish you all of the luck in the world. And if there's ever a need or a want for you to get out and you need something to say, or something to get out and you need a platform to do it on, more than happy to have you back on here. So again, thank you so much for your time, and good luck with your race. And hopefully I can be of some assistance in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on tonight. This has been great. And I really appreciate you, the work that you do, educating people and talking about the news and politics, and for, giving me a platform to talk about my campaign and share my story. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I was taught that, working class people are there to help and build up other working class people. And like I said, I know where I stay. I know I'm a very small fish in a very large sea, but, to be able to utilize this platform for good, whether that be local, statewide, federally, to build up smart and good candidates for the people of their constituency, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. So any last words, anything else that you'd like to get out there, websites, contributions, social media? Do you have social media places people can follow you?
Yeah, I'm on pretty much all the platforms. I have, Facebook page, Twitter and TikTok. I'm at Agawam Tom. You can follow me on Instagram at Tom_Hendrickson. I'm on all the platforms, and my website.
Do you have Blue Sky? I was looking for you on Blue Sky.
No, I don't do Blue Sky. I don't,
Okay, all right.
it's just one of the, I got so many platforms, I don't have time.
There are a lot. There are
But
a lot.
TomHendrickson.org though is my website, so you can go check me out there. So thank you.
All right, Tom. Thanks again, my friend. And again, I wish you all the best. And if I could be of any assistance going on, you just give me a shout and we'll be right here to help you.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well, my friend. Thank you so much. All right, Tom Hendrickson. Appreciate him for stopping by. Like I said, a lot of good stuff in his, on his website for you to take a look at, for you to read. So I would definitely tell everybody that is in the area. And even if you're not in the area, and again, you're just trying to learn more about the candidates, maybe in surrounding areas that you're living in. Obviously, it's a good thing to know what politicians and what people that are running for public office are espousing, what policies they like and believe. So, big shout out and a big thank you once again to Tom for joining us. So, very much appreciated. Ton to talk about though in this second half. Ivanka's Island. This whole thing is just an absolute nightmare in the making, and they're just trying to flaunt the wealth that they've been able to accumulate either from the Saudi wealth funds or the different Gulf nations that have been just throwing money into their pocket. So now they need a place to put that, right? That's just kind of been burning a hole in their pocket. So Jared Kushner and Ivanka said, you know what we should do? We should just take this huge island. We should take this island off the coast of Albania, one that was kind of, had some like bunkers and tunnels and stuff constructed for the Cold War, all of those things that are already on there, like weird things that'll go to help some of the tinfoil hat people be like, well, obviously that's what's going on. The stories that we heard from Epstein's Island and, coming from his ranch and stuff like that. Like I wouldn't put too much by them. But let me throw this on because the first thing I want to look at, and thank you so much, chat. I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for everybody coming out from Hal's show as well. Sorry I wasn't able to kind of give everybody the appreciation on the raid, but I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the interview that was going on. So again, big shout out to the Sparklers. Thank you, CSL, Andrea, everybody over there. Appreciate everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Substack. We are 100% completely independent here. So if you have a couple quarters in the cushions of the couch there, and you can send them into Venmo, I would really, really appreciate it. Like I say, $1 or $2 from everybody in the chat would go a long, long way to help grow in this community. And again, you can sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me for less than a gallon of gas for an entire month. Go over to patreon.com/Boston Brian. 3 great tiers on there. Head over to the merch site, bostonbrian.com. Let's go. I appreciate you guys. All right, let's throw this on here. Let's make sure this is still working. Appreciate you guys because this is Mike Nellis. I just figured I'd let him do. He did a pretty good recap and recounting of this story. So with the limit on time that we have here in the last hour, I figured this is probably the better of the two options as to how we go over this. But yeah, this is, and he titled this, Trump's daughter is building a private island retreat for billionaires. Sound familiar? I mean, does this all sound like really eerily familiar? Like just a private getaway, a private island of billionaires that have like immense wealth doing things that nobody's going to get to see. It's all going to be in secrecy and privacy and hidden, all of this shit. Well, apparently the people of Albania aren't too fucking happy about this either. But let me see here. This is, again, Mike Nellis. Talking about this situation. So I'll throw this on for a couple minutes. And again, another Epstein Island it sounds like that's what they're trying to build. It's crazy that they don't see the optics of this. And I'm sure they don't give a shit because, to get that money from the Saudis, into their bank account and then out of their bank account and into something tangible, right? So they're trying to, again, throw as much money at this, probably in the tunes of billions and billions of dollars, considering what she explained, what she said the process was like and how big this whole construction site was and process was going to be. You could even hear the host in some of these clips, and he's like, well, that sounds like an understatement, and he seems to know how big this project is too. So you could only assume that it would be billions of dollars spent to kind of flaunt it in your face as you're struggling the most you've ever struggled in your life to put food on the table, to get the gas in your gas tank, to get your kids to their fucking doctor's appointments, all of these things. They're building fucking private bunkers, private islands, just like Jeffrey Epstein's island. Again, funny. So again, Mike Nell is talking about this real quick.
Folks, Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, and her husband, Jared Kushner, just announced a massive plan to build a private island in the Mediterranean for billionaires like themselves. It's 1,400 hectares. It's in the middle of nowhere. No government
What is with this hectares? What is going on with the hectares? Nobody says acres anymore? No? Like, are we all supposed to be from Australia now? We're all going to be from wherever they say hectares? Because what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I know she calls it that, but it's like, she's a douchey person, that like tries to be prim and proper. And so I'm sure she'd love to be more European than she is American. So I understand why she says it, but I don't know. Where's everybody pulling this hectares out of?
It's completely off the grid, and it's leading me to ask a very important question. Is the Trump family building the next Epstein Island? I don't think it's an unreasonable question to ask, given how hard they have worked to protect the Epstein class. Let's dive in to their latest corrupt scheme. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Be sure to engage with this video. Help us to continue to build an independent media company that can stand up to the Epstein class and take our country back from the Trump cartel.
I'm working on an incredible project with my husband in the Mediterranean. It's massive in scale.
I think that's an understatement. Can you explain?
Yes, it is.
There's no power on this island. You're building everything from scratch. Correct.
Well, it's an unbelievable, beautiful 1,400 hectare private island in the middle of
just zero fucking self-awareness whatsoever, right? Or just zero fucks given for the optics of this, right? The president of the United States daughter at a time where her father is the most corrupt president to ever hold the office of the president of the United States. We're talking about to the tunes of billions and billions of dollars when added all the fraud, all of the cons up, especially the ones that include his own base, his own cult. And obviously the, $6 billion at this point that Jared's received from these different wealth funds in the Middle East. So, at this moment in time, when everybody's struggling, the worst that they've ever struggled in some lifetimes, you know what I mean? She's going to sit there and sit and talk about how much this is costing, how expansive the island is, how they're going to be so remote and far away that nobody's going to be able to see, which I don't know. She kind of made it seem like that this was like smack dab in the middle of the Med, which I was kind of surprised, really. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick on the map. Right. So let me see here. I don't know if I'm going to be able in the same. I think it's one of these islands here, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Was it this one? Does this one have a name? Hendrickson? I could be wrong, but I know it's just like it's one of these little smaller islands off the coast of Albania. Right. They'll probably say the name in this. I've forgotten. It could be this one. Maybe this one. I don't know. Cezanne. Yeah, I think it is this one. So it's like she makes it seem like, and it technically, I guess it is, but it's a lot closer to Albania. It's a lot closer to the coastline than I thought. And of course, it probably looks a lot closer than it technically is. But I don't know. It wasn't what I was envisioning when she said like this remote island in the middle of the Med. That's not what I was expecting. But that again, I believe is the island in question, if I'm not mistaken. Well, let me throw this back on. I'm sure they'll reference it here at this point at some point. Play.
the Mediterranean. We were on a friend's boat and we stopped for a swim. Effectively, that's how we found it. We swam to the islands. We went on a hike barefoot all the way up to the top, and we were just captivated, and it stayed with us ever since. And
I'm just going to go ahead and stop this video right here, because I do not believe this story one bit from Ivanka Trump. And I know that she tries to keep, at least in the second term, a bit of distance from her father and the corruption inside his administration, but she is as guilty as every single one of Donald Trump's kids and grandkids and everybody else around him who are abusing the power of his presidency to take advantage of the American people. And I think people need to understand that she is incredibly disingenuous, and this story doesn't make any sense. I had our team do a little bit of research about this island, and I want you guys to understand, this is not something that she just discovered one day. This is something that they've been working on for a long time, to build a massive complex for billionaires like them to go and do God knows what. But given everything we know about the Epstein files and the cover-up afterwards...
Their island got blown up, guys, right? The spot got blown up at the island that they used to congregate at, so they need a new island to congregate at. And it looks like Jared and Ivanka were just chosen. They're the chosen ones, right? Because they got the money and whether this is part of the deal behind the scenes, right? And maybe I'm putting a little bit of a tinfoil hat on, but fuck it, I don't give a shit. But what's to say that it wasn't Donald Trump that set this whole goddamn thing up, right? Got the fucking relationship between MBS, got the proximity to power, got Jared Kushner these meetings, made it so that the funds would travel over to Jared so he wouldn't have any part, right, in this. Maybe thinking that he could, in the second term, he doesn't have to do that. He's just going to do it himself. But, back in the first term, he probably thought, you know what I mean? Maybe I should give it to this guy. That way he can control it, and then he can give it back to me at some point in time. Now this is just kind of how they're repaying their dear old father, right? The dear old leader. They're building him and his Epstein class of buddies, the 1%ers, this nice new fucking island that they can congregate at and do all this fucking sick shit on. And apparently this island, like I said, was kind of built up by the military in some aspects for the Cold War. So apparently there's tunnels and bunkers, allegedly. So this kind of adds to the lore of the island and what may be taking place type of thing. But it goes on a little bit here to describe it a little bit more.
I have a lot of questions here. So let's dive into the research that our team did. I'm going to read off some of the facts so that you guys can understand it. Then we'll dive back in to the video with Ivanka Trump. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump are involved in a $1.4 billion, quote, luxury resort project on Sazon Island, one of the largest undeveloped lands in the Mediterranean. The island sits inside a protected marine park, and environmental groups have been warning that the development will damage sensitive ecosystems and wildlife. This is not, as Ivanka Trump implied here in the beginning of this video, that it's just some abandoned sandbar or island that they found. It is literally, and guys, this is kind of like when you're watching a TV show and all the different weird plot points start to intersect. It is literally a former military island that is filled with Cold War bunkers, tunnels, and reportedly areas that require clearing unexploded ordnances. Okay, so there are landmines all over this island for God knows what reason from the Soviets.
That's the first time I heard that 1.4 billion, though. I don't think I ever heard a price put on that. So I was right when I was talking when we were suspecting that this would be billions of dollars. And of course a project that's scheduled to be 1.4, you can guarantee is going to run some over costs, let's just say. So it's probably going to be nearer to 2, if not more than that. Depending when they go in and they finally start building and, like these assholes do, and they want to expand everything and everything's got to be gold this and bullshit that. So again, that cost is probably on the very conservative, very low end. But let me just show you this before I let him go on, because he details it pretty good there again with that $1.4 billion number. But there was also a Midas Touch video that detailed the reaction by, it was this one right here. Let me throw this one on the screen, because this is the reaction by the Albanians that don't want to see this happen right off their fucking coastline, I can assure you. So this is by Midas Touch. It says, mass protests erupt against Ivanka Trump against the world. So let me just play the first minute of this, and you can see the reaction to a certain extent of this.
Are trying to destroy a protected environmental area in Albania using Jared Kushner's private equity firm to basically destroy this island and to turn it into an island for the right-wing oligarchs to create 1,000 villas and basically destroy this area called Sazan, which is this cherished area of Albania. So you saw the protests right there.
Yeah, you go. I'll play you here's a quick snippet of the protest here.
Mass protests against Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner are erupting in Albania and in other areas of the world. Jared Kushner and Ivanka are trying.
Another one, I think. So I believe this is protesters at the, it looks like the coastline there. Probably, I would assume the closest point to whatever this Sazan Island that you can see. Obviously, you see the police presence. Looks to be a protester in the background getting dragged off. Can't be sure. I'm not sure if that's a policeman dragging him off or maybe a friend and maybe he was beaten by the police. I don't know, but you can see some clear upset people, as it were, here in Albania.
So let's break down, as we show you some B-roll here again, what's going on. So the same way Jeffrey Epstein had his Epstein Island, Ivanka and Jared want their island, their version of that, I suppose, but this time for their kind of right-wing oligarch friends. This is my opinion. Now, this island island, Sazan, was previously used by the Soviets. It remained untouched.
I wonder if you can see anything. Let me throw this back on because now I'm intrigued. Wonder if you can see any of the remnants of anything. This is the island in question. Here's Saint Nicolas Bay. So I wonder how big is this island from? I wonder how big this is. Let me see. I could probably get a ruler and I can measure this island from here to here, and it is exactly 4,686 meters, or we're looking at about 15,377 feet from tip to tail there on the island. What's it say? Elevation profile 279 meters. It's that tall? Get the fuck out. How the hell are they even going to do this? Let me see here. If I can change the heading, change the tilt a little bit. Yeah, you can see a little bit better there, the elevation of the island as well. Not just the distance, but I wonder where all the villas are going to be on that one. But I was curious if you could see any remnants of any of the bunkers or the tunnels or anything. But I would assume it would probably be difficult to spot from Google Earth. If, again, they're underground tunnels, underground bunkers, I'm sure they're not very visible. What do you got up here? These look like a little, what do you got right here? What are these things? Heading, let me change this. Nope, that way. Let me go back this way. Yeah, what are these? These look like old sites of something, right? Remnants of buildings, maybe, possible military sites that were on there beforehand. Looks like it's at the point, the tip of the island almost, so, or the highest point there on that, so that might be a good lookout spot. But yeah, this is the island in question here, that $1.4 billion apparently of villas. Looks like a bunch of buildings here, whatever these buildings are at some point. Look like they're all long time abandoned. What is that? Is that an entrance right there? No, it just looks like another building. But what's this right here? Sorry, I'm intrigued. I'm curious about these islands and tunnels. That stuff really, it really gets me going. You know what I mean? The old, World War II bunker remnants and tunnels and stuff like that. Like, I'd love to go to the Channel Islands and stuff, and kind of explore around there too. But yeah, this is the island in question, just to kind of give us a better idea of what we're talking about, where we're talking about, what it looks like, and obviously the amount of money that they're talking about spending for this Epstein Island. And again, how far off the coast is it? Just the last thing that I'll measure, and that'll be it. We'll get out of the map here, but it is 28,866 feet, or 9,622 yards from the coast there, from the coast of Albania, from mainland Albania, as it were. So, not all that far away. Like I said, I thought when she was talking about the middle of the Med, she would be, she'd be out, somewhere. I don't know. I thought she was talking about somewhere just like not where that island is. It's a strange spot, obviously with a strange history. But, I do digress. I'll get back into this real quick. But you can see the size of the protest. And I don't know if there was other things going on. I don't know. My skepticism kicks in a little bit that this is all about that. But it very well could be. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there was other, points of contention that were being protested as well. But let me throw how much time we got? 9:42. Yeah, we'll go into this one just a little bit more. Where's what did I do with it? Oh, I got to go forward. My apologies. Here, it'll take me off the screen. I forgot that I changed it on the same screen. Go forward here. Back and forth, back and forth. And it was Mike's video, right? Great. Now I'm not going to be able to find it for crying out loud. I'll just go to my history. Just go to the history. Hit that like button, guys. I do appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on this fabulous Wednesday evening. If you could hit subscribe to the channel, that would be fantastic as well. They just try to pull this video back up that I got off of. Was it right? Yeah, here we go. All right, my apologies. Let me throw this back on.
Soviets. This is, to me, just absolutely crazy that they're acting like this is just some island that they found. This is the kind of shit you hear about in a Bond movie, right? Where some Bond villain with a crazy name and a bunch of sidekicks are literally going to build a private island with a bunker and missiles and God knows what. So again, it's Ivanka Trump being just like every other member of the Trump family, totally and completely disingenuous and not telling the truth to the American people. By the way, this podcast is from 2 days ago, so this is not something I'm just dredging up. They literally are bragging about building an evil lair for God knows what purpose. Now, this is the Albanian government They have called this project their strategic investor. They're giving them strategic investor status, which critics say provides unusually favorable treatment and accelerated approvals. Now, here's the thing about Albania's government for people to understand. It is one of the most corrupt governments in the world today. And there's no question in my mind that they are giving special status to Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner because they are related to Donald Trump. Okay.
I mean, it's strange that this family just seems to seek out the most corrupt people on the planet to do business with, right? The most murderous regimes, the most, likely to accept bribes and large sums of cash to give them, favorable treatment. It's so strange how that's like the people that they time and time again see themselves buddying up with and doing business deals with. It's fucking crazy how that happens, whether it's MBS, obviously the government of Albania here. I mean, it's strange. It's almost like they thrive off of the corruption and they can only survive in the fucking dark areas that that these people fucking survive in. You know what I mean?
He is the most corrupt president in American history. He is constantly doing this shit. And Jared Kushner in particular has been going all around the world, particularly in the Middle East, making deals with foreign governments, selling out the American people so that Trump can make giant land deals and explode his net worth. The estimates of his net worth increase is $4.5 to $6 billion in the last year alone. And my guess is when you factor in the appreciation of the land that they're acquiring, thanks to Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, it's going to be much larger than that. Now what they're literally doing is building them a place to flee when the American people finally turn on them for how much money they're stealing from them. Just crazy. The project is moving forward.
What is it with these fucking people in bunkers, right? Again, we don't have to go into too much more of that. I think you guys get the gist and the generalized aspect of the story there. And again, the piss poor optics and the just blatant flaunting of wealth in your face, flaunting of the corruption and the wealth that they're able to obtain throughout, through that corruption in your face. Billionaire fucking villas for the billionaire class. They shut down Epstein Island, so let's build ourselves a new one. But all right, here's something that we haven't taken a look at in a couple shows. There was a couple of these put out. I didn't want to get too bogged down in these, but I figured this one's pretty hopefully entertaining because it's talking about the fact that Iran has pretty much cut off the talks because of what Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel continue to persist in. So I just figured we'd dive into this. This is Persia Boy Hemat and Explosive Media. They've now teamed up together, and this is No More Talks. It says Sons of Karbala. So again, the first Lego video we've seen in a couple of shows. Let's see what else. It's got 25,000, almost 26,000 likes here. So I'm assuming it's pretty good, but I wanted to dive into it with you guys. Let's see what trouble we can get into. I appreciate it. Hit that like button. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. And again, this is one of the latest Lego drops. I don't think it is the latest. I think there's been a couple others, but let's see here. This seems to be one of the more popular ones of recent.
Yeah. No more talks.
Lebanon's blood sealed the line. Now the contact is cut. Women and children murdered. We've had enough. No more talks. No more talks. Ceasefire broken. Now the silence is loud. Iran stood patient, but the blood speaks too loud. You kept striking Lebanon, killing innocents clean. Women and children buried under the rubble scene. You thought we keep talking while the blood kept flowing, but patience has limits. Now the lines are closing. You violated the truce on every single front, then expected us to sit down like nothing's been done. We watched the atrocities, we counted every name. Now the message is simple, the contact is slain. No more talks, no more talks. Lebanon's blood sealed the line. Now the contact is cut. Women and children murdered.
So you can see the emphasis already clearly being put on what's taking place in Lebanon and how that was the red line in the sand there. That was the line that the Iranians weren't going to cross as far as engaging in peace talks, engaging in talks at all with the United States. If in fact they couldn't curtail, they couldn't control their fucking rabid dog off his leash over there in Benjamin Netanyahu. And that's clearly what we've seen, very specific and very, very specific reason for Benjamin Netanyahu to come out the other day and in more recent interviews and talk about the need for more escalation and how they're locked and loaded and ready to go. And he's desperate to get into Iran again and start bombing more leadership, more targets, more anything that they deem necessary to start striking. But that's, again, you can see the main focus here, which is obviously built-in truth, right?
We've had enough. You wanted submission, you wanted us weak, but Iran stayed composed while the innocent bleed. Every bomb that dropped was a step too far. Now the bridge is burned. We don't talk anymore. Sacred defense doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't fold. We gave you the chance, but the blood ran too cold. You laughed at the ceasefire, you laughed at the pain. Now the silence you hear is the price that you you pay. No more talks, no more talks. Lines are cut, now the whole world watches. Iran will punish every violation you cause. Tell the Zionists the sons of Karbala are ready for war. Sacred defense.
So again, just detailing the ending of the negotiations per the Iranians. Again, obviously based off of what's been taking place against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and obviously the world's anger and disgust at what continues to take place in the West Bank and also in Gaza. But let me throw this on the screen as well, diving off of the Lego videos into this moron, if I can, which is, I believe, Rob Schmidt here on Newsmax. And this is titled, and I love this title, Trump Won't Get Duped by Iran. What the fuck do you consider it? What do you think has been happening this entire time, right? He's been getting duped and played and bitch slapped by Iran this entire fucking time. So I am dying to hear what kind of evidence Rob Schmidt is going to use to try to justify the fact that Donald Trump, no matter what situation we're talking about, if it's escalation, it's very bad for the world, very bad for the American people. If it's a piss poor negotiation, it's a piss poor peace deal that he comes out with, it's going to be very bad. It's going to be very different, and it's obviously going to change the outlook and the way that we have to look at our relationship with the Iranians, and obviously the control that they have and power that they have over the Strait of Hormuz, depending on how many billions and billions and billions of dollars that we send them in direct cash, what they're going to be able to do with that. Obviously, what takes place with the enriched uranium, all of these things still up in the air, much like they have been for months at this point. So I don't understand as to, again, what piece of evidence, what piece of rhetoric, I don't know what he's talking about, but let's hear what Rob Schmidt's going to try to get across as far as the reasoning why Donald Trump's certainly not going to get duped. And if he brings up the fucking art of the deal, which Donald Trump didn't write whatsoever, and then we could look at, all of Donald Trump's businesses, like, again, if that's what he brings up here as far as the reasoning behind this, I'm going to fucking lose my mind. But let's just jump into a couple minutes of this. We also have one coming up here from James O'Brien as well, talking about Trump's health. Obviously, the bruising on his hands, the marking on his necks, the cankles, the lack of energy, can't keep his fucking eyes open. And now more recently with the swollen hands, right, is another sort of development. And again, I'm no physician, I'm no MD whatsoever, but it is something that other people are pointing out that seems to be new, right? It wasn't just the bruising on his hands, wasn't just the disgusting makeup on his hands, but the way that his hand was swollen around his knuckles, and whether or not that's from, I don't know, recent injections. Obviously, with him being out of the limelight for 6-7 days there after his trip to Walter Reed, there was a lot of speculations flying around. But let's see here if we can jump into this Rob Schmidt real quick, and then we'll dive into that James O'Brien. And I believe he's got his Washington correspondent Simon Marks on detailing and talking about Trump's health. But let's dive into a couple minutes of this. Hit that like button. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics, and I am super appreciative of you guys being here and spending your time with me. I really am. So thank you. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to the chat. Very much appreciated.
The JCPOA was a bad deal. The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into.
Which is exactly why I am destined to make, if at all, definitely a much worse deal. It's definitely going to put us in a worse position. I'm definitely going to send them far more, exponentially more money than anything that we said and cried about Obama was sending them or did send them under the JCPOA. We're definitely not going to have as much control or ability to follow the enriched uranium after this with the IAEA and obviously the inspectors that were involved in the JCPOA and how we got to follow it basically from the time it was dug up to its fucking end results. But no, obviously Donald Trump had to rip that up, which is exactly when the Iranians started to threatening enriching uranium at a higher level. Obviously now getting us into the position that we're in now based off of Donald Trump's actions and willingness to conduct this war when, again, every other president passed on it, right? You don't think that this has been something that was floated around these military circles for quite some time? Remember Operation Midnight Hammer and how long of a plan that was? in the works in the military. I think they said that was something like, I'm paraphrasing and correct me if I'm wrong here, but something like 10 years old, if not more, that people have been talking about that strike in Iran, talking about the potential strike in Iran, going through plans for that strike in Iran. Like, it was just happened to be enacted by this fucking lunatic here.
Obama is a horrible negotiator. Iran beats him. This was a ridiculous deal for the U.S.
He beats me.
It's a ridiculous deal for the world.
So as you listen to all of the criticism of where this potential deal is right now, and you hear all of this noise about Trump bowing to Iran and how he's going to get taken for a ride on this deal, just remember,
he's been taken for a ride. Like, he's been on that fucking ride. I don't know if he can get off the ride. Like, that's the scary part to everybody. I don't think there's a way for him to get off that ride. I think somebody locked his fat ass on that roller coaster and they went on fucking vacation. Right? Ain't nobody there to hit that stop button. Like, he's just continuously going around in circles on that fucking roller coaster and can't get off at this point. That's how fucking bad he's gotten his shit kicked in by the Iranians.
For who he is. You know, the president has got an ego and he wants to win. I mean, that's what makes him an effective leader largely. He has these qualities. He's not going to lose on this thing. He's never going to let himself get duped by a nation like Iran. It's just not part of his bravado. It's not part of his psyche. He's not going to lose on something like this. He'd rather just fight this thing forever than take a crappy.
That's even worse. Whoa. So you're trying to get us to believe that it's somehow a good thing that the guy is so fucking maniacal, the guy is so self-absorbed, and the guy can't stand being wrong or losing, that he's just more than willing to continue this war indefinitely? Rather than, again, come to, even if it's a bad deal, to end this, to end the economic suffering, to end the economic pain that was thrust upon us because of this fucking war. So we're supposed to be like, oh, that's good. Okay, no, he's a crazy fucking lunatic, and he has no problem just continuing this war indefinitely if he has to, in order to not lose ever in this. It's like, yeah, okay, Rob, that's reassuring. I'm sure that's building up a lot of trust in your audience right now. Like, no, fuck it. He said no more forever wars, but he is willing to continue this indefinitely. I guess forever and indefinitely are somehow, I don't know, different in this case.
Deal, which is what the allegation is right now. This is not a part of his foray. This is not who he is. Rubio indicating overnight that there is no way that this administration will sign a weak deal.
Well, look, I think our position is well stated. The president had a very important, I think, historic call just a couple days ago with a number of leaders from the region. I think there's strong alignment and agreement on what a preliminary draft should look like. It's either going to be a good deal or there isn't going to be one.
The straits have to be open. They're going to be open one way or the other. So they need to be open. What's happening there is unlawful. It's illegal. It's unsustainable for the world. It's unacceptable. The straits need to be open, unimpeded, without tolls. And obviously that needs to happen immediately.
Yeah, this does not sound like a weak deal is coming in anytime soon. It's going to be a strong deal, he said, or there won't be a deal. The Strait of Hormuz has to be open one way or the other, he says. And the truth.
Does he understand what he's saying when he's saying that there's going to be no deal? Like, if there's no deal, we're talking about escalation. We're talking about ongoing hot war. We're talking about the potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz for quite some time to come. Like, he understands the ramifications. Like, that's not going to be a good look for the Republicans, right? That's not going to be a good look for this administration. If going into midterms, this war is still going on, the gas is still creeping up. The destabilization of the oil markets is still in play. Much like everybody is suspecting it's going to be, even if it does end today, through midterms, you're still going to have that destabilized market. It's not going to go back down to normal all of a sudden, much like they've told you it was going to. So this like blind loyalty, this blind trust, and like, he's either going to come out of this with bombs or he's going to come out of it with nothing. It's like, what do you think nothing means in that case? Like, you know how detrimental that will be to the fucking world economy if we in fact just continue this forever? I don't know. It just seems like I thought you guys were the ones against the forever wars. You guys didn't want any more of these like regime change wars to be fought, especially in the Middle East. It seems like, that meant nothing. And really, you just kind of spew whatever you have to spew at the time that it's beneficial for you. But, I digress.
Is, again, nobody knows what this deal looks like right now. And these leaks making the White House appear to be on the cusp of accepting some kind of a bad deal out of desperation could clearly have agendas behind them. They could be being leaked by the White House for certain reasons to make Iran feel a certain way. to elicit a certain kind of reaction.
3D chess, but probably even like 6D chess at this point. That's what they're doing. And just like Donald Trump said in his interview with Miranda Devine, and she asked him basically, you know, when you're doing all these things and you say one thing and then you completely contradict yourself about 2 seconds later and you got people guessing all over the place and you got people confused, is that like, that's a plan, right? Like she tries to give him this off ramp. She tries to give him this, like, you know, this freebie of being like, oh yeah, that's definitely why I do it. It's not because I'm a crazy old fucking lunatic, right? It's definitely because I'm playing this 4D chess to try to keep them on their toes, right? But then she asked, well, what about the American people that are confused, right? What about the people that don't have 401ks that are pissed off about groceries and gas prices? And he says basically that it's good that the American people are confused too. Because if the American people are confused, that means the Iranians are confused. Clearly makes no fucking sense and is just lunacy, right? Just complete fucking and utter lunacy coming from the guy's mouth, but also at the same time makes absolutely no sense.
Action. But those leaks are being taken seriously by many people, including Mike Pompeo, who had Rubio's job in the first Trump term. He appears worried, saying the deal being floated with Iran seems straight out of the Wendy Sherman, Robert Malley, Ben Rhodes playbook. These are all Obama-Biden people. Pay the IRGC to build.
So let me guess, is he a rhino now? He's a Republican in name only. Is he the Ben excommunicated? Is he now on the outs because he had in some way something almost negative and something that could be considered pushback against what Donald Trump is currently or not currently negotiating?
WMD program and terrorize the world, not remotely America first. It is straightforward. Pompeo continues, open the dam straight, deny Iran access to money, take out enough Iranian capability so it cannot threaten our allies in the region. Overdue, let's go. Senator Ted Cruz, deeply concerned about what we were hearing about an Iran deal being pushed by some voices in the administration. Trump should continue to hold the line, defend America, and enforce the red lines that he has repeatedly drawn. So where are we with Iran is the big question tonight. You know, everybody's reporting the same.
Apparently he doesn't have an answer. Apparently he doesn't want his viewers to have an answer because that's where they cut off the clip. I didn't cut the clip off there. That's where they cut off the goddamn clip. You know what I mean? So where are we right now? What is the actual important thing that you need to know? End scene. Fucking idiots. You know what I mean? But all right, let's get into somebody here with that that does have some brain cells to put together to come out with a coherent thought. This is both James O'Brien and, like I said, his Washington correspondent, Simon Marks. And I believe they are discussing Trump's health. It says, yes, Trump in excellent health, in quotations. I'm sure that is being extremely facetious based upon what the doctors have said and continue to say about this old, decrepit, fat, out of shape, dying in front of our face old man that we have in the White House right now. But he says after annual checkup, Simon Marks reacts. So I just wanted to get into a couple minutes of this, and I'm just curious as to what people outside of the United States are talking about and saying as far as Donald Trump's health and the bullshit coming out. You know, the stories and the reasons, the dentist, oh, it's just a free, you know, it's a dentist visit, or, you know, it's his 4th annual checkup this week, but don't worry, everything's fine. He's also taken about 414 cognitive tests in the last, I don't know, week and a half that he says he passed every single one of them, but might give you kind of like a put up a red flag, like cause for concern. Like, why would the president and his doctors, why would the doctors surrounding the president feel the need to give this guy so many fucking dementia and cognitive tests? Right? I'm just saying there's probably something that they're seeing, hearing, or looking at as far as tape, you know, as far as, clips of Donald Trump or speaking to him in person, even more likely that they base the need off of that to be like, yeah, send this guy for another test. Yeah, I know he took it yesterday, but fuck me. Did you hear what he just said? I think we got to throw him in there again. Yeah, see if he can name the elephant an elephant. See if he can name the camel a camel. Tell him to ask him where the woman, the person, the TV, and the camera is, and then send him back out here and let me know what he got. You know what I mean? But all right, let's see what James O'Brien and Simon Marks have to say here as far as Donald Trump's health after his, quote, 14th annual checkup.
Donald Trump's health reports are in, and it turns out he's practically an Avenger.
Oh my God, I love it. It's such a fucking joke. It is such a joke. You look at the guy and then you hear what his doctors are forced to say and you're like, well, that's not about that guy, okay? Whether we're talking about 6'3", whether we're talking about 215, whether we're talking about all of these things that you say he's in the best physical condition, like that's not that guy that you saw. I just want to point that out. Because he's about 5'9", 333 pounds, and there's not a fucking healthy part to this guy's body. So I think we're talking about two different people.
He's a lion of a man, James. I know that's going to be a surprise to everybody.
Yes.
An absolute lion of a man. I mean, that is the view of none other than the White House physician. And President Trump has spent now, 4 days consistently celebrating it. I see late last night before he went to bed at 11 o'clock in the evening, he retweeted on his social media platform an article from a very pro-Trump website, Just the News, headlined, Trump scores 30 out of 30 on cognitive assessment, looks 14 years younger than he is, according to the outcome of that physical examination that was...
That is the definitional use of North Korean style propaganda. I am fucking sorry. That is straight Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, don't take a shit. They never take a piss because they work off all of what they do consume because of the energy that they put into the people of their country and the tireless efforts that they are engaged in order to make their society a better place. They don't have to go to the bathroom. It's all worked off, right? There's no difference. There's no fucking difference between that and somebody as a physician trying to tell us that Donald Trump is in peak fucking health. Okay, right? Trying to get us to believe that like the cognitive tests that he's been taking more and more recently is just for like shits and giggles or so that he could put it on his Truth Social and tell everybody how he did type of shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. We were born at night, but it wasn't fucking last night there, Chief. You know what I mean? And again, this is being, mocked and ridiculed pretty heavily here. I know this is in some cases dry British humor, but even here you can tell that they're landing on pretty thick as far as like the ridiculousness of these reports and how, again, propagandistic they are to get anybody to believe he's 14 years younger. Marco Rubio, right? Great example. In his committee hearing that he was sitting in front of, was that today or yesterday? Anyway, regardless, he was asked by, I believe, Ted Lieu about Donald Trump falling asleep in different cabinet meetings, in different meetings with these people. One of which actually came at a time where Marco Rubio was sitting not 3.5 inches away from Donald Trump and actually speaking at the fucking time, right? And it got to the point where Ted Lieu was like, all right, well, you just clearly lied in front of Congress, to the point where I have a fucking video to play you where Donald Trump is clearly, again, whether you call it sleeping or just unable to keep his eyes open. I think unable to keep your eyes open as the president of the United States is probably just as big of a problem, if not the same problem, as just outright fucking sleeping in front of everybody, right? Like, what's the difference at that point? Whether you close your eyes for 30 seconds or a minute, you're out. You know what I mean? So, again, people that are saying he's outright sleeping, obviously a case to be built off that, and people that are saying that the eyelids are closed, like, it's all the same thing. The guy's fucking unable to stay awake. He's unable to keep his eyes open. He's unable to do his duties, right? He's clearly unable to be commander-in-chief of the fucking armed forces. That's for damn sure. But, the sycophants like Marco Rubio, even after seeing the video, even after seeing it with their own eyes in the video, which I'm sure they've seen time and time again, based on reporting, based on different outlets, whether they've seen it on social media. Sure, it's not the first time that he's seen these clips, but even afterwards, he was like, oh, that's not him. That's not him, not being able to stay awake. That's, he's maybe looking at the shine on his shoes, right? You just can't see where he's looking because he's looking down. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, what? But they go on.
Conducted last week at Walter Reed Military Medical Center just outside Washington. And the president over the weekend, in what was, even by local standards, what they refer to here as a high volume posting weekend on the president's social media account, was obsessed with it. I mean, at one point he took to his social media.
They had to remind the people that he was alive, right? They had to reassure the people that he was actually living. So what better way to do that than throw out about 1,400 fucking True Social posts in one night? They'll definitely believe that. It's definitely along the lines of what he's done every other night. So why wouldn't people?
A platform to say, unlike other US presidents, none of whom have ever taken an approved high difficulty cognitive test, I scored a perfect 30 out of 30, considered extreme intelligence. And just in case everybody had missed the point, he also went on to observe, this is my fourth such test, all perfect. 120 correct answers out of 120.
Did you hear James laughing in the background? Did you catch that? Did you catch how like embarrassed we should be right now at this moment, where they're just got all of the evidence in the world, all of the reason to just outright laugh at this government, to just be like, this is an outright in utter joke of a government. This is beyond laughable. Obviously, it's creeped into the extremely dangerous realm at this point. But the bullshit, when you break it down to the propaganda and the nonsense and the lies about Trump's health and him fucking being perfect and fit, peak physical condition and 14 years younger, it's like that's just no other way to describe it but North Korea style propaganda, Kremlin style propaganda, you name it. If it's a dictator and an autocrat, they probably had some sort of propaganda doing the same goddamn thing. You know what I mean? About them telling these fallacies and making things up and, trying to concoct this image to the public that absolutely doesn't exist in reality.
Questions asked. It is rare that anyone gets a perfect score, especially when achieved 4 times in a row. So he was once again claiming, as he said before, that he is an incredibly stable genius.
Of course.
Unfortunately, everything else that was this sort of stream of detritus on his social media feed raised questions about his mental stability in the minds of many people that were looking at it. But on that cognitive score, 30 out of 30.
Well, congratulations, Mr. President. So some of the things that have exercised him to the point where, as you say, questions about his mental stability persist include the Kennedy Center, named, of course, for Kennedy, not by Kennedy, which is, I think, a crucial distinction when it comes to honouring people, and the rally that is there or was scheduled to mark the 250th anniversary, and the fund of money for all of the people that sort of committed crimes in his name on the day of the January the 6th insurrection. They've all got him exercised. Tell us why, but make sure you leave enough time to tell us also about this phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, let me deal with the Kennedy Center and the Anti-Weaponization Fund together, because they're kind of linked in the sense that the American media's framing of what's taking place is not entirely consistent with what is actually taking place. You're going to see headlines out there about Donald Trump is thinking of walking back his idea of setting up this $1.776 billion weaponization fund to pay off his mates who ransacked Congress on January the 6th, 2021, that Donald Trump is handing control of the Kennedy Center back to Congress. I mean, neither of that is exactly what's taking place. On the Anti-Weaponization Fund, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, went to him and said, Mr. President, this idea is dead on arrival. Forget it. There's no support in the country among Republicans for this. We're not backing it. So he was basically...
Which is, again, why you saw the flip and the turn, and we played the clip earlier of Todd Blanche in front of Congress basically stating that slush fund was no longer in the works, not going as far as to say he'd put that in writing, but did say that, there was no more plans to make that a thing, but also reiterating that the amendment that Donald Trump, his companies, and his family can no longer be prosecuted for those tax crimes was going to go ahead. That wasn't scrapped. That wasn't canceled. That is something that they're going to try to push through.
Blocked from pursuing this. The idea that he is being the big man and stepping back from...
But I think this has happened. Like I said, I think Todd Blanche possibly, like I said, made that announcement in Congress after this was recorded.
This is sort of ludicrous. And similarly on the Kennedy Center, I mean, Trump is framing the story that in his fury with the judge who has said he can't name the center after himself, even though he's already done it, and it's got his name outside it, he's walking away. He's handing control of the Kennedy Center back to Congress. Well, as the judge observed, control of the Kennedy Center had never been taken away from Congress. It's not as though Donald Trump legally has control of the Kennedy Center. So those are huge reverses for him. And this America 250, this Freedom 250 set of concerts that's due to be taking place here on the National Mall later this month, part of America's 250th birthday commemorations, falling apart because you've got top musical acts, including Bret Michaels, the frontman of Poison, Martina McBride, the Commodores, various others, top acts that they had booked, all saying, we thought we were coming to take part in a national celebration. We now discover it's going to be highly politicized by the White House. We're dropping out. And that raises a bigger question here about the July 4th celebrations of America's 250th birthday that are on the horizon. Can the country come together in any kind of united way when the president of the United States is now determined to turn those celebrations into a politically infused celebration of?
And like I said, we brought that up too, where, you know, it really is a shame that, you know, the way in which this is taking place, and that the fucking, you know, it's probably, you know, I don't know, rightfully so, I guess, that, you know, it just so happens to coincide the 250th celebration, the 250th year, with Donald Trump being in fucking office is just, you know what I mean? I don't know, another just slap in the face, I guess. But, you know, it's a shame that, you know, somebody more coherent, somebody less divisive couldn't be in, so we could actually utilize this moment for some coming together, right? Some unity, you know, maybe some erasure of the, you know, the very, I don't want to say violent, but definitely, you know, uprooted political atmosphere that we're in, the very divisive political atmosphere that we're in to some extent, right? I mean, there are times in which the country has come together to a large degree, but let me see here. I'll dive on from that one. Let me throw this one on here as well, just to kind of show you. And I know this is probably going to piss a lot of people off considering the speculations that were flying around over the last 6 or 7 days. But unfortunately, the old decrepit orange did make an appearance in front of cameras. And I think the people that are surrounding him may be wishing he didn't. Because again, incoherent statements, basically, as they're calling this, a proof of life appearance. Just so people can shut up with the speculation, they can stop the rumors flying around. But he doesn't look good. Look at how awful he looks, right? I'll throw this up. We don't even really have to listen to it, but you can, because he's speaking slow, the same way I noticed he looked in that Miranda Devine interview, right? So I'm kind of assuming that was taped recently. That wasn't, you know, taped some time ago, because he had that. I wonder if I can pull this up real quick. Let me see if I can pull up one of these. Let me throw this on. This just where he's sitting down with Miranda Devine, because it looked like his, you know, the right eye, and we've seen it before, where his right eye, he's having trouble opening it. It looks more closed than his left. He definitely looked fucking really, really exhausted. Let me see if I can throw this in. Trump, Miranda Devine. How do you spell that? Devine. Just see if I can get a shot of that real quick. This should probably tell us. Let me throw this one on there. Throw this real quick. But this is, again, from we went over this interview, but he just looks like shit. You know what I mean? His eye, his right eye is fucking closed up. It looks a little bit, you know, swollen underneath his right eye, a lot more than his left eye would be, right? I mean, this puffiness under his right eye, the right eye unable to be open. The puffiness doesn't look as bad under the left eye, but he looks extremely exhausted. And I don't know if this is early morning or late night, but I'm assuming it's one or the other, where he's, you know, exhausted because it's morning, or he's exhausted because it's night. But listen to him in the way that he spoke. He's very soft-spoken, low-energy Jeb style. See if you picked up on this too.
This interview, because I shouldn't be here right now. I'm supposed to be someplace else. But I'm doing it because it's you.
Thank you.
Like, his eyes are barely fucking open.
You wrote really a great book.
Eyes look bloodshot. Looks like absolute shit.
It was a whole fake. The whole thing was a fake. And they were trying to say that his laptop, you called it the laptop from hell. And you said you got
called
the
it
term
that.
from me.
Yeah.
So again, whether that has any correlation to the way he looks as far as, you know, this Oval Office meeting was concerned, not sure, but definitely looks like, you know, similar. I don't know if it's getting any better. Maybe that's just him now. He is just going to consistently look that terrible at every moment.
And we have fentanyl coming in 59%.
But he's like struggling to speak now, and a lot of these times he's very, you know, he sounds like he wants to be loud, but he just can't get loud anymore. You know, really low energy, clearly falling asleep in a lot of these different meetings. Like, he's just like straining at pretty much every turn now, no matter what he's doing.
Less. cut it by a number that nobody.
And again, I think there was a. Let me see if there was another one of these clips here. Yeah, this is. He says the same thing. Aaron Parr, Trump does not sound or look well, right? And again, I hadn't even seen these clips. Didn't even see any of these posts here. All I saw was that he was unfortunately seen in front of cameras. So I pulled this page up. Let me see. This is the one where he says he doesn't look well. Let's see this one.
Mr. President, given Iran's attacks on Kuwait, this latest attack on Kuwait, is the ceasefire with Iran still on?
Well, you know, there's a reason for everything. And we hit them pretty hard the night before and actually last night.
So I don't know. Do you think he's sick? Maybe that's why he was out of commission for 6 to 7 days. He has that, like, you know, and I know he clearly always does, but he has that like extra run down look. You know, that strain in his voice, you know, whether that was from yelling at Netanyahu or yelling at somebody in his cabinet. I have no fucking idea. This says, Aaron Brupa says, Trump sounds nearly comatose as he tries to attack CNN. And again, I noticed the same thing in the Miranda Divine. He just seemed, I don't know. It's kind of tough to explain considering, you know, all of the ailments and fucking, you know, side effects that we've seen from this guy, but just seemed off, right? He seemed very tired. You know, he wasn't, you know, closing his eyes like he does in these cabinet meetings, but he seemed to be not with it, really.
Talking about a few people, many of them. I'm one of them. They raided my house, Mar-a-Lago. That never happened. Nobody ever thought of anything like that. It turned out that it was a total fake. Everything about it was fake and corrupt. We have all the information. You know, the good advantage to sitting.
But again, just kind of seeming really strained, really low energy. I think that's the one where he attacks Caitlin Collins. Folks, there is something gravely wrong with the president's health, and the White House is covering it up. This man is obviously not well. Let's see what he says in this one.
First one is, are you concerned at all that the IRGC could sabotage any potential deal? And then the second one is, you have a birthday coming up. I won't say which number, but it's a big birthday. So you're going to blow out a candle. You're going to blow out, you know, some candles on a cake, hopefully. What are your wishes that you'd like to see accomplished for the next year for the United States and your presidency?
Well, I'll go in your order. Anything can happen, you know, when you're dealing with Iran, but when you're dealing with other countries. But that's a very volatile part of the world, probably the most volatile part of the world. The people are volatile.
Maybe reason number one not to start a war there. I don't know. I'm just saying if it's that fucking unstable, if it's, you know, if you're thinking it's that kind of a dangerous region, maybe don't go in there with half your fucking Navy, your military, and start bombing the shit out of Iran. I don't know, making it so that they start bombing other Gulf nations, making it so that they're bombing other U.S. bases. I'm just saying. I just got, you know, I'm going out on a limb real quick and saying probably not the best space you'd want to just thrust the United States military into until a full-scale war. Just saying.
The leadership, you see what's going on. We've gone through 3 teams of leadership.
Oh, look at him. Look, here, let me get out of the way. What do you notice? What's he doing with his hands? What's he doing with his hands? Notice what he's covering up. And obviously it's impossible for him to cover up both hands at the same time, but he seems to be doing a pretty specific job at covering that right hand. I don't know if that was because of the reporting and everybody pointing out the fact that his hand looked to be swollen in a recent interview, that we talked about. But, you know, you can see here he's sitting kind of, you know, as he's known to do now, and having that right hand covered up pretty tightly with his left hand. And again, the fact that he's got the bruising on his left hand is probably freaking him out because he doesn't know he's going to have to lay his tie on his fucking left hand at some point and just be like, yeah, that's the way I want it. And I always do it that way just so nobody can see the bruising. But, you know, he's quite clearly trying to cover up his hands there.
You know, we're military. There's never been a military like what we have.
But again, low energy Jeb, you know, just not sounding well. A lot of people sounding this, you know, feeling the same way, getting the same vibe out of this. This is creepy as hell, gives you the ick. Obviously, he continues here just to justify the one. Oh, this is where he doesn't seem to know what's going on with this slush fund, right? And this is after Todd Blanche had already gone on into Congress to testify that the slush fund was done. He's asked about this by Caitlin Collins, I believe. He says, Caitlin Collins asked, just to clarify, is the $1.8 billion DOJ fund dead or is it on hold? And Trump says he'd have to ask the lawyers. He doesn't know. people like you have abused our people. So he goes on to defend and to justify the fund while also just saying he's not sure. You know what I mean? Which is kind of odd, obviously, because of the close relationship between Todd Blanche and Trump. I think, obviously, Donald Trump knew and knows a lot more than he's leading on. But all right, let's jump on to these next videos. We'll kind of fly through these. Actually, which one? We only got about 7 minutes left, so I'm probably going to have to do one or the other. So do we want to dive into this one or do we want to dive into this one? Let me make a decision on the fly. We got one here by Preston Stewart detailing some deep strikes exposing holes in the Russian air defenses. And then we have one here from the Sun, battle plans exposed, about the Ukraine's jet-powered drone striking 800 kilometers deep inside of Russia. I think Preston may discuss the strikes inside of St. Pete a little bit more. So why don't I throw this one on the screen here for you guys, and we'll end on this one. Like I said, this is Preston Stewart detailing, again, the successes that the Ukrainians have had in getting through the air defenses and obviously pinpointing these holes that they continue to utilize to strike these targets. And obviously, and honestly, I think he brings up and references the strike in St. Pete again as well, just to kind of refresh everybody from earlier today. So Slava Ukraina, hit that like button. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Best chat in the fucking game, best mods in the game too. So if you're looking for an independent community of people firmly established in the opposition and the resistance, and again, that will absolutely be here fighting and linking arms with you guys every single day. That is the community. This is the community. You have found the right one. So please hit that like, subscribe to it. And let's see if we can get to 25,000 by the time midterm elections rolls around. Thank you again for the 20,000, surpassing 20,000. Big goal for this channel. And again, I'm not going to let you guys off the hook for the amount of appreciation that I have for you guys in getting us to that point. So, all right, let me stop stalling. Deep strikes expose holes in Russian defenses. Preston Stewart, take it away. Give me some insight.
So Ukraine says they just deflowered a Russian ship. I've never heard that description before, but it does look to be pretty fitting.
That's got to be from fucking Magyar, right? That's got to be from Magyar. He's loving these like statements that they've been putting out recently. The one where, what did he say? The Russians sleep with one eye open or something like that because of the Ukrainian drones and what they're going to be consistently doing from here on out. I think he's had one where he's basically said, die, motherfucker, die, pretty much. Not holding back on the rhetoric. So again, whether or not that came from Robert Magyar is in question, but definitely sounds like something. But again, that is an attitude felt throughout the Ukrainian military. I can assure you, having met different soldiers from different parts of the military, all of them are pretty united in the fuck the Russians, fuck Vladimir Putin, type of rhetoric.
Comes as an oil refinery was just hit by Ukraine in St. Petersburg. That is more than 1,000 kilometers away from Ukrainian territory, and it happened just as Russia began hosting a major international conference, which showed the attendees, including the Taliban, who were there, by the way.
And he must have just got back from Ukraine, right? I don't know if he may even been doing this. Preston might even been doing this update from Ukraine. But I know he was in Odessa. I know I saw that he had videos in Kherson, and I'm thinking a couple other regions as well. So if he got back, he must have just got back.
That Russia isn't winning this war. Now, I just got back from Ukraine like a couple hours ago, so more on that trip in a future video.
I should have just shut my mouth and watched another 3 seconds of the video, and I could have got you guys the same information.
But at a high level, we were able to embed with an air defense unit protecting Crimea. We met one of the units and saw one of the drones as being used in the very effective Middle Strike campaign throughout the occupied territories.
So basically, those were the exact type of pictures that we weren't allowed to take, or that we were allowed to take, but not kind of publish, really, you know what I mean? So hopefully in the near future, I can either set up a return myself or get linked up with hopefully an organization that sets up trips like these, and I can go out and do some on the ground reporting, some journalism, and continue to bring the the plight of the Ukrainian military and the Ukrainian people to the forefront. Obviously, not trying to overextend or estimate the reach that I have with the channel, but again, that is something that I am extremely passionate about and would love to be able to do again, and to be able to do it at not my own leisure, but, cover what I want, put out what I want, do reports on the ground, which is something that when you're part of a humanitarian aid convoy of that extent, with people of that, that level of people, then there's a lot of precautions taken, rightfully so, absolutely. NDAs signed to keep different soldiers safe, and kind of precautions put in place where you gotta really be careful of what you're taking pictures of and reporting on. But hopefully sometime, I'd like to say in the near future, we'll be able to get back and continue doing journalism, on the ground journalism, just like this, bringing people the insights, showing you what it's actually like on the ground. Hopefully soon. So appreciate him for being over there and giving us the reporting, and jumping right into the videos about 2 hours after he landed home.
Rode the drone tunnel into Kherson to meet some of the citizens living through Russia's ongoing human safari. Great trip, great people. Can't wait to share all that with you. But let's get going on what happened in the last 24 hours, notably the St. Petersburg strikes. According to John Foreman, the former UK defense attaché to Moscow, he said in the Kyiv Independent, quote, "It is
and again a big propaganda win
for
too.
Putin's home city."
One sec. To be big propaganda win. That might be what actually he's leading into right now. So this is not only effective as far as the strike itself, but obviously a double-edged sword here, where Vladimir Putin really takes a hit as far as the ability or inability he has to keep his people safe. St. Pete is supposed to be like a Moscow, where it's supposed to be one of the more heavily protected, if not up there with the most heavily protected of the cities inside of Russia, where people can feel safe, or are supposed to be led on to believe they can feel safe because of the overwhelming military power and ability they have with their air defenses. Well, not only did that crack that that level of invincibility, or that air of invincibility, but obviously the propaganda aspects of hitting Vladimir Putin's St. Petersburg is something that is obviously going to go to help at least build up the propaganda momentum.
He attacked on the opening day of St. Petersburg's International Economic Forum. Instead of being able to project the narrative of inevitable victory and strength, the opposite is true, and it won't be lost on the attendees.
And very strategic, very strategic. So again, as this like Russian Davos type of thing is happening, you can be assured that there's a lot of high-profile people. High-profile people typically, in turn, warrant some media coverage, some press coverage. So I'm sure there's probably more press in St. Pete than there normally would be. So again, more cameras, more mouths, more microphones that get to report on this. I think I saw an NBC clip. I don't quote me on that. It might not have been NBC, but somebody that was out there giving a report saying basically, we haven't reported from St. Pete in this many years. We haven't been here. And basically 10 minutes after we got here for the first time in this long, what we were looking at is very dark, thick, black clouds of smoke rising over the city of St. Petersburg, which is again not giving these journalists or whoever's in St. Petersburg covering this Russian Davos type of event. It's not giving them the belief that the Russians have the upper hand, right? So again, on all fronts, kind of on three fronts here, a propaganda victory for the Ukrainians.
They said black smoke hung over St. Petersburg on the morning of June 3rd as the first delegates arrived for Russia's flagship economic forum. And the footage here is wild. And what's great is we've got footage, not just, the international delegates showed up and just filmed this stuff left, right, and center. So we have a ton of footage of the strikes in St. Petersburg. The Kyiv Independent said the attack unfolded as dignitaries arrived for the 2026 St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, an annual conference of business leaders and government officials, and apparently American podcasters. That's a random one. Didn't see that coming, but it happened. Hosted by Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Who's that? Andrew Tate and his brother there. I think that's who he's referencing as far as going over there. They was, who was the other? Oh, Candace Owens and her husband were also over there for a period of time.
They say the oil terminal located on the Gulf of Finland at the city's great port of St. Petersburg is one of Russia's largest fuel and storage and export facilities. We do have additional information on this strike. Ukrainian President Zelensky said, quote, "Tonight, important targets in Russia were hit. Among them is the St. Petersburg oil terminal. From our border of Ukraine to this object of the Russian oil industry is around 1,100 kilometers."
And again, playing on the other side of the screen there, you can see the footage from either the press corps that was in attendance, or again the dignitaries themselves, or the high-profile people that are in attendance. That's why you're getting so much footage of this. And again, we showed earlier the single Russian soldier trying to shoot down these drones with his rifle there. to no success whatsoever. But again, you can see kind of the different angles and the different clips they're playing on the other side of the screen from this strike as well.
Military targets at a naval base had also been hit. We're going to get into that today, too. Deflowered, actually, is what the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces called it. Zelensky said another target
was
an enterprise in the Tambov region, which is located.
I called that one. I knew it. It sounded like a Magyar statement. You know when you hear it. You know, and if you've been covering this long enough, you kind of know when something comes from, what type of statement comes from whom. And that sounded like a Robert Magyar definite statement there.
Which is involved in the production of Russian weapons. That strike took place almost 600 kilometers away. They say the Ukrainian plan of long-range sanctions is being implemented exactly as it is needed to bring peace closer. Now, a quick look at where St. Petersburg is. Look, we get very dialed into locations all across the map, specifically in Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, even central Ukraine, where some of the Russian strikes.
You can't even see it on this map.
are taking place. We got to zoom way out to get to St. Petersburg, right? So for reference, we've got deep state map here. Here's Moscow. And if we go didn't need the coordinates. If we go
for some reason, I don't think this is on my end. I know it just got blurry, but I'm pretty sure this is not on my end. I think for some reason he may be having some, technical difficulties as far as internet. Let me see if I can skip ahead just a second. Does that make it any clearer? Any clearer? For some reason, doesn't seem to be. Oh, here we go. This gets a little clearer. So here's kind of detailing the distance that we're talking about here, right? So the amount that you have to zoom out, you can't even see Ukraine, basically, right? You can barely just see any of Ukraine there. And then obviously you can see St. Pete way up the top of the screen.
In range, or do they need Western weapons to strike Moscow? No. And they've been hitting it for a while. So St. Petersburg, all the way up here, Zelensky said 1,100 kilometers, might end up being actually in this area here, over 900, close to 1,000 kilometers for St. Petersburg. And then the island that we're going to talk about here in a minute that hosts some of the Russian ships right here, Kronstadt, again, off the coast of St. Petersburg. Incredible. 900 plus kilometers through Russian territory. All of this area here should be full of Russian air defense. These munitions should be shot down if Russian air defense had not been so heavily deployed.
So again, that's another aspect of the victory here. It's not just the fact that they were able to not only get to St. Petersburg and strike the refinery there, but also the fact that they were able to get through Bryansk, Smolensk, Tver Oblast, Novgorod Oblast, into Leningrad Oblast without being shot down by any Russian air defenses whatsoever. Like, these aren't like out in the outskirts type of oblast, right? I'm sure each one of them has their aspects of that, but we're talking about not far away from Moscow, obviously St. Petersburg being a huge Russian hub, right? So these are places you would expect to have the Russian air defenses in place, especially trying to position themselves, speaking of where they're positioned between from Ukraine, St. Petersburg and where Moscow is. Like, you would think these places in this established area would be be able to self-preserve themselves because of the air defenses in place. But this is again a strike that shows that not only the Ukrainians have the ability to strike that deep into Russia, but the Russians don't have the ability to shoot down or to again provide a guarantee that the Ukrainians won't be able to hit these places.
Completed over the course of the last few years. Now, shifting back to additional details here from the Ukrainian side, and then we'll get to the Russian response. The Ukrainian SSO, so Special Operations Forces, say the sanctions facility has 31 tanks with a total capacity of 324,000 cubic meters. The Russian response to this has been interesting. They've not been able to hide the fact that this facility was hit, but not a lot of analysis at this point. The Kremlin spokesperson Peskov said that the reason the war is ongoing is to prevent attacks just like this, which is interesting, right? The reason this attack took place is because the war is ongoing. Like, that's going to be a never-ending cycle. But anyways, that's the official.
Yes, the dog chasing his own tail. And I know I'm over, guys, so I appreciate you guys sticking with me as far as that is concerned. And then tomorrow on the show, we could probably bring up this one as well, because I don't think this one's not kind of this one's not going anywhere as far as the Ukrainians' jet-powered drone striking 800 kilometers deep inside of Russia. This gives some pretty good insight as far as that's concerned. And again, if there's anything else that comes out before, between now and tomorrow, we'll be more than likely to cover it. But yeah, I just wanted to dive into a little bit more information and coverage and angles of the St. Petersburg strike. and obviously thank Preston there for not only his work in covering that, but also the work that he did in going to Odessa and giving us some coverage from inside of different places in Ukraine as well. So again, really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. What do you say we get into thanking some people that may have been kind enough to shoot over a buck or two on Venmo, which is just right here in the corner. All you got to do is hold your phone up, hold your camera up to that. It'll send you right to the Venmo. A buck or two is all we ask for. Nothing above and beyond that. If you want to send in anything above and beyond that, and it's in your financial capabilities to do so, thank you so much. Very appreciative of it. But that is, again, based upon you and your financial capabilities and the value that you find in this show. All we ask for is a buck or two, really and truly. So thank you so much first today to Bry Guy. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you. He says, Peter Thiel, Argentine, and they're going to Epstein too. You think they know something about USA? We don't. Slava Ukraine, thanks again for the hat. Absolutely, Bry. Thank you so much for the support. Definitely getting a heart on that one. And yeah, it makes you wonder. It really does make you wonder as to what this now $2 billion like bunker site now, this $1 billion getaway, this $1 billion island, $2 billion island that they're building for the billionaire class, what it's actually going to be used for. It makes you wonder, especially with the actions and everything taking place behind the scenes, all the corruption, all of the illegal acts, everything. So don't blame you. And obviously I'm right there with you as far as, skepticism on what's going to be taking place. So thank you so much. Thank you, Allison, as well. Run for local office, Boston Brian. I just don't know about that one. I don't know if local office could handle me. I really don't. You know what I mean? But hopefully, you never know. You never know. It never counted out. It might come down to that at some point. But thank you so much, Allison, for your 5. Thank you so much, Dame, as well. Wicked Wednesday. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate you guys supporting earlier. Bry Guy supporting earlier. All of you guys that take the time out. Nancy, Yakov, Moms, Peter, Jim. All of you guys. Thank you so much, Belinda, over the last couple of days. I really do appreciate you for keeping this going. What do you say we thank some people over here on YouTube? First up today, who is up today? Wes, what's going on? Appreciate you. Thank you so much for 25 months of loyalty. Support your local business and public schools. Amen to that, Wes. Definitely second that. Much appreciated for your support. Like I said, always good seeing you in the chat. Hope you're having a good night. Thank you, Rachel, for not only setting up that discussion, but obviously your loyalty and friendship to the show. Love you guys. Whalen headquarters in Springfield says hi right back at you. Thank you so much, Rach. Very much appreciate all the work you do in trying to set up different interviews and people to chat with. It is very much appreciated. So thank you to Carol as well. Rachel Atwood, the Wise is here. Respect. See how much recognition you got here, Rach? We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Carol, for that as well. Thank you, Allie B. How are you, Allie? Hope everything's well. Boston Brian, run for local office, alderman, council person. See, I don't know. That seems to be a trend. Now it's a trend. But congratulations on being here for a year. And you never know. Like I said, you just never know. Never say never. So appreciate you, Allie B. Thank you so much to Bicycle Mike as well for your contributions. Fuck all Trump's F cancer, seconded by pretty much every single person in this community. And hope you're having a wonderful night, my man. Thank you for your support. As always good to see you in the Zooms. DPD, much appreciated. Would the British allow for the destruction of Buckingham Palace, Big Ben, Abbey Road, or the British Museum? The answer is no. So why have we allowed this regime to decorate the White House and other national treasures? And again, that goes back to not being pissed off enough, right? Not being angry enough, not making enough phone calls to our elected officials, not having enough protests that are disruptive enough to get the attention, right? Not just the Saturdays. And again, I do see absolute benefit in all of these protests, regardless of which ones we're talking about, but it's obviously not enough. Right? If we could do that in conjunction with bigger ones, more disruptive ones, unfortunately, by definition, a protest is supposed to be disruptive, is supposed to get people's attention, is supposed to, throw a fucking a big ass twig in the spoke of that bicycle to make sure that people fall off that bicycle and are forced to recognize what's being done to the people that are fucking getting run over by that bicycle. Right. You know what I mean? So I just don't think that people are pissed off enough. I mean, we should have been right out there as soon as the White House started being turned into this fucking golden piece of shit. Right. I mean, again, when the East Wing was torn down, or when $1 billion is being spent on a ballroom in a bunker, and the national monuments and the reflecting pool, and the Eisenhower building and the fucking Arc de Triomphe and all, like, you know what I mean? I know this is very clear dictatorial shit. right? So add that on with all of the economic hardship, all of the lies, the wars, the dead soldiers, and we're just not pissed off enough. The fact remains. So DPD, very much appreciate your contributions. Thank you so much for the 20, and I am right there with you in your sentiment. SFL, what's going on? How are you? Appreciate seeing you. Thank you so much for the $7 there. Always appreciate seeing you in the chat. Hope you are having a wonderful night. Thank you to JD, Siempre Antifascista. As always, that $5 will go in the swear jar that JD pretty much created. It's pretty much JD's swear jar at this point. So, JD, big salute. Love you. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. Oh, Wes. What an awesome blessing that is. Thank you so much. Blessings and honor, glory and power, salvation for all. You've got a good heart, Brian. Don't change and become a stoic like me. Well, I appreciate the recognition of my heart. I really do, Wes. And thank you for that very generous and kind contribution to the show. It is appreciated. It is recognized. And like I said, thank you for going that extra mile. And then Nola rounding it out today. Thank you for the $2 contribution. Obviously, the recognition of the crustacean nation here, the lobster squad. Right? Nothing's been around longer than lobsters, and I think that was shit. I'm blanking on the guy's name. Who said that? Who's this guy?
I mean, they've been conserved since the time of lobsters, right? There weren't trees around when lobsters first manifested themselves on the planet. I mean, they've been conserved since the time of lobsters, right? There weren't trees around when lobsters first manifested themselves on the planet.
What's that guy's name? Why can't I think of that asshole's name? It's probably a good thing. Jordan Peterson. God damn it, Adam. God damn it. I was going to sleep peacefully tonight having not remembered that name. But no, I appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much. Spot on as usual. And we hope you're well, my friend. Good to see you down there, Adam. Salute to you, buddy. But yeah, even oh my God, never ceases to amaze me the sound bites you can get from these fucking people. Really and truly, right? I mean, who says this? I mean, it's fitting for Donald Trump, but
for
right?
minors, do we love minors? I love minors.
Yes, you certainly do. You certainly do, you disgusting bastard. That's probably why you said
We're
this.
inviting Americans from all across the country to come.
You fucking pervert. All right, I'll get you guys out of here. I thank you guys a lot for all of your help, your contributions, your loyalty, your friendship, your partnership, your commitment to the channel and the cause. And again, I respect the shit out of you guys, and I appreciate the fight and the persistence inside of you guys to consistently come back to not only this show but all of the other shows and accounts and channels that you watch to keep up to speed and up to date on what's been taking place. I know it's a lot. It is a lot. So I want to make sure that you guys are appreciated and recognized, and hopefully I do that enough. So thank you to the mods. Thank you to the chat. I will see you guys tomorrow for the old Thursday show. Again, I'll see you at 2 p.m. here on the East Coast, 11 a.m. on the West Coast. Hold on. Let me see. I think there was one more thing that I had to do. I think there was an update. Let me see. One more. Let me see. My apologies. Hang with me. You stick tight. Hit that like button if you haven't liked that yet. Just want to make sure that I'm getting this right. Let me see. What's today's date? Today is 6. Oh, I think it's this one. All right, give me a second because I had to upload a new exit and I forgot to do that beforehand. So I'm just gonna kill some time, waste some time as that's uploading. What do you say we take a look at the chat? Thank you guys in the chat. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you, Human F Being. Thank you, SFL. Thank you, Benny Loco. What's going on, Benny Loco? Good to see you. What's up, Rachel Clark? I see you over there on Facebook. You can't hide from me. You can't hide from me. What's up? The Storm Virgil. Let's go. DPD, as always. Bruce Bruce-a-loos? What's that say? Bruce Eulis. Oh, Bruce Eulis. All right. First time. My apologies. Or Brumo, what's going on? Dust in the wind. How are you? Buenas noches, langostas. Buenas noches. Thank you so much to Rocks. Thank you so much to all of the mods as well. Adam, thank you so much to Mark. Thank you so much to Jen. Thank you so much to Ali Osha. Really much appreciate you guys. So, all right, let's see. Nope, still uploading. It's going to take a little bit, I think. So maybe I'll get it prepared for the next show. Maybe that's probably what should I do. Don't do all this shit mid-show. Probably good advice. All right, I'll get you guys out of here. I'll let you go. I promise I'll have the updated exit video ready to go for tomorrow. So hit that like button on the way out. My name's Brian. This is the Blunt Politics Podcast, and I couldn't be more grateful for you guys and the community that we've built here. So again, hit that like button on the way out, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. I appreciate you guys. Peace. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Get the fuck out of your seats and get into the streets, please. But keep your head on the swivel. Make sure you're staying safe out there because, again, I don't know how many times I can say it. You, as mad as you are not mad enough. Okay. You are not angry enough. And we are not putting up enough of a fight or a resistance. And we need to start recognizing what's actually taking place in this country and the degradation to society that we're actually witnessing right now in order to, again, get us to that point where we're ready to take some change into our own hands, let's just say. All right, I'm out of here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Superpowers, being honest, I will eat my neighbors.
When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular, and pitchers, I guess you could say, and really particular.
Мій позивний танцор.
When you ran out the...
Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Population in Thailand is 63 million people. It is twice the size of Wyoming. Its chief exports are textiles, footwear, and rice. Each year, approximately 13,000 people are killed in car accidents in Thailand.
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Where you going? Nowhere.
How do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? Seriously, how do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president?
Call them dumps, big massive dumps.
And you're drunk. You're drunk.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
My superpowers, being honest, I will eat my neighbors.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
We will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. We're fighting for our right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
what uranium is, right? This thing called nuclear weapons and other things, like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful life. Give yourself some applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
Like we always do about this time.
White people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones.
I'm just an average guy who read public documents where the elite said they were going to enslave us and destroy America. And I'm not going to be like yuppie scum and deny the threat to my country. I'm going to fight back.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник